Hey, Council, if we can get you back here, that would be great. We'd like to begin. We've got less than a minute. And Councilman McGuire says we need to be out of here by 7:30.
Yeah, I turn into a pumpkin. I got a ton of stuff to get done. I got to leave early.
Yeah. All right, who are we missing?
Dawn.
Okay.
Attention, Don Paris.
We are starting now. We are returning to our 6 p.m. session. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation? All right, we'll wait for Councilman Paris. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Mayor, Council, fellow citizens, let's bow our head before the Lord. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you tonight with hearts filled with anticipation, with a lot of happiness, and a lot of concerns. Father, I ask for a very special blessing and anointing on all of the council members and my fellow citizens, that the decisions tonight would be your decisions for your people, by your grace, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us back in?
Councilmember McGuire.
Here.
Paris.
Here.
Stump.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Here.
Mayor Wood.
Yes, I am. Do you have any reports or late communications for tonight's meeting?
Yes, I do. There's back from June 18th and 29th from GM Powers. Has resubmitted, was not entered in the public record. It reads City Manager underestimated General Fund 1819 fiscal year revenue by $818,000, equivalent to 8 to 9 city positions that are unnecessarily targeted for cuts. July 1st. Fire delays in development of 6 airport parcels risk $107 million in revenue shortfall and raises tax burden on residents by $21.25 per parcel per year. July 2nd, city attorney's impartial analysis of Measure C, partial tax delinquency rate is gross error. And also, DJ Tuig has sent analysis of California City by way of Kern tax, and also, let's see here. Also recommendations that they have made from mycalcity.org. That's it.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Tonight we have a presentation from the California City Police Department on the from their dispatcher, Talia, and it's a text to 911 smart 911 system. And you have the floor, and our chief, or I don't know which one you want. I saw her there. Sorry, I focused in.
Good, and so turn over to her.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so like Chief said, Text 911 and Smart 911 is a service we're now supporting at the California State Police Department and the majority of agencies in Kern County as well. So I'll go ahead and start with Text to 911. As of April 27, 2018, 1,530 of 6,000 PSAPs have registered nationwide to take text according to FCC, approximately 26% of nationwide PSAPs. The majority of the agencies in Kern County right now are up and live with Text 911. I believe it's July 16th that they're going to announce to the public, and we'll start accepting Text 911 24/7. Reasons to take text. It's the equal access for the deaf community, hard of hearing, and speech impaired. It's the first time the community has had equal access to 911. If a texter is unable to speak in a domestic violence situation, terrorist attack, or shooting or hostage situation, they can always text 911. And we'll be able to get them help. Or in terrain, say you can't make a call because the signal's not strong enough, but you can get a text through, And we can get GPS location off text as well. It's not as reliable as a phone call, but we can get something. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a short video.
Please, don't move. Put your hands on the hood of the car. Do it now. Bring it behind you. But you are being detained while I figure out what's going on. You understand?
Remember, call if you can, text if you can.
So in that, it shows us an example of when you can't necessarily make a phone call, and text 911 is actually very helpful. Oh.
If you write anything on your computer, you need to get Grammarly.
I write pretty much.
To the hard drive, one to the screen.
Okay, so there are limitations that come with text 911. Currently, it's only available in English, only due to we can't necessarily find a perfect translation system to use right now. With it in writing, we don't know, can't determine exactly what language it is to translate it. There's no pictures or videos. I know with Sprint right now, they do support pictures. However, it sends us a link, and we have to call a phone, and then they email us the picture. So the pictures take a lot longer to get. No emojis in plain English, no abbreviations, just plain English. Just text us exactly what's happening. Be prepared to give your location. Different carriers give us different accuracy when it comes to location, so it's not necessarily as reliable. So if you text to 911, you want to first provide your location so we can get help started immediately. Text 911 cannot be sent to more than one person. If you say a group message with 911, when you try to send the message through, you'll get a bounce back message. And if the location's not received or accurate enough, you'll also get a bounce back message. If for whatever reason we don't have the text to 911 screen up in dispatch, your text won't be just put on the sideline or anything like that. You'll get a bounce back message notifying you that we're not supporting text 911 in your area and to make a phone call. And then this is a video instructing how to make text to 911s.
Today, almost everyone has a cell phone, and in an emergency, your cell phone may be your only lifeline. We are so pleased to announce that Text to 911 is now available in Orange County. And even though this great new technology is now available, it is important that you still always call when you can and text when you can't. So if you should always call when you can, text when you can't, when do you text? Texting to 911 is an option for individuals that are deaf or hard of hearing or have a speech impairment. Or if you're in an emergency situation where a voice call is simply not possible or even dangerous, or you try to make a call but cannot get reception. With texting to 911 now available, why is it still so important to call? When seconds matter, a conversation is the best and fastest way for emergency dispatchers to retrieve and deliver life-saving information. And sometimes there is no replacement to the calm voice on the other end of a line in a true emergency. So that's why we encourage to always call when you can and reserve a text when you can't. So what do you need to know? How does it work? Simple. Just like when you text a friend, your phone must have a data plan that supports texting. Find the text icon on your phone, tap New Message, type 911, no space or dash, and the 2. In the subject, include the street address, including the city or the town if you know it, and if you don't, provide the best description you can. Include the type of emergency, and if you need police or fire or medical. Provided location information is so important because dispatchers cannot locate you based on your text to 911. While calling from a home landline provides some location information, a text does not. Include the address of the location, or best description you can. Responders will reply to your text within seconds, and if your text didn't go through, you'll receive a message letting you know. Even though we live in a very tech-savvy world and sometimes speak a tech-savvy language, there are a few things you also need to know about texting to 911. Don't send emojis, GIFs, videos to 911 dispatch, and don't use social media jargon or acronyms or send a group text to 911. The 911 system is reserved for true emergencies. We are so pleased to launch this new technology in our community, and we know that it will save lives. We want to be there for you when you need us the most. Please remember, calling 911 or texting 911 when it is not an emergency can be a crime. Even more, it can distract attention away from people who truly need help. For more information on Text to 911 in Orange County, visit us at ocfl.net/text to 911. Remember, call when you can, text when you can't.
And then these are a few of the county public announcements. They're going to be posted around and you'll see them throughout. Okay, as of right now, all the dispatchers at the California State Police Department have been trained on the Text 911 program, as well as several officers. By July 16th, all the officers will be trained when we go live as well. Okay. Now, Smart 911 is just a 911 add-on for you guys, so we can get more information about you to help us when you call 911. It's a nationwide private safety profile. You go online and you make a profile, and you put as much or as little information as you want in it. This way, say your address, pictures, things like that. This way, when you call 911, we already have a lot of information on you. So when you call 911, your profile pops up on our screen, and that's the only time we'll be able to access your profile. You can't search for someone's profile by their name or anything like that. So it's completely private. And then you can also text back to someone. If they call 911 in a situation they can't necessarily talk, we can text back through this service and attempt to contact them that way. In Text to 911, we can't text first through it. We can only respond. In this one, we can text first. Okay, so you go to Smart 911 and you make a profile. Like I said, as much or as little information as you want in there. Your profile is linked by your phone number, so you can have multiple phone numbers in a household. And then you can change or update your profile at any time with say something changes, you have a new medical condition, you can go ahead and put that on there so first responders will know. And it's a completely free public service. So just go on. It's a good thing to have. Kind of information you can have on there, your address, the members of your household, say your children. If your children ever call 911 and they say, my name's Ben, we can have a picture of them. We know their age, we know their address, and are able to get them help a lot faster. We can have phone numbers for everyone in the household. Say if someone calls, your husband calls from his phone number, it'll still have that same profile, and it'll show the phone number linked to his name on that account. You can have emergency contacts in there in case there's something happens. We know who to call. Your primary speaking language, if it's a Spanish-only household, we'll know right away to send Spanish-speaking officers. Vehicle descriptions, just in case we get there and say there's an unknown car in the driveway. We can know what vehicles belong to that house. Your medical conditions, your preferred providers, blood type, allergies, medical history, medications you're on, which matter with EMS. And an advanced directive or DNR, you can have access instructions to your home as well as a floor plan and blueprints. So this way they know, say you can't open the door for them, we're like, okay, we know how to get into the house. And the work, school, or other addresses you may be at if you're calling from your cell phone and you're not at home, but we're showing that your work is in the 911 radius provided, that we can be like, okay, their work is in that, we should try there first, is anywhere else. And you can also put your pets on there. If, say, there's several small dogs in the house, an officer doesn't want to be walking in, or, say, large dogs, too, a bunch of dogs running around. These are just videos of examples as far as times the Smart 911 has been very useful. I'll go ahead and play this short one from Good Morning America.
Thank you. In today's GMA Heat Index, a new high-tech tool that can help you in an emergency. The personal safety game changer is called Smart 911, and ABC's Abby Boudreau has all the details.
A mother's frantic search.
My daughter is missing.
A woman stranded in her car with poor cell reception.
Good location on you. I can't hear you at all.
And a man trapped inside his burning home.
I can hear you coughing. Is this Dan?
All of these are actual 911 recordings, all of them with happy endings, thanks in part to Smart 911, an enhanced 911 system where you can prepare for an emergency before it happens.
I like to describe Smart 911 as 911 on steroids.
Lieutenant Jason Sims from Culver City, California Police Department says they are the first city in California to use Smart 911.
It dramatically increases the amount of information that we have available to our first responders.
Here's how it works. You create a safety profile online, which can include your name, home address, photos of family members, even your medical history. Your is then stored in secure national databases. And if you call 911 from an area that uses the Smart 911 system, your profile will instantly pop up on the dispatcher's screen.
They can take that information, they can pass it on to the first responders and have them en route much faster.
And remember this 911 caller? Choking on the smoke from inside his burning home?
Dan, your Smart 911 that you signed up for has your address, and we have help coming for you.
And that Smart 911 profile, it cut 11 minutes off the response time.
It saved me, saved my life. Every day I'm here is a blessing.
For Good Morning America, Abby Boudreau, ABC News, Culver City, California.
11 minutes.
Life-saving technology.
Yeah, it is.
And whenever...
So since Smart 911 is also a web-based program, we can actually share the information that comes up in dispatch with the officers on their MDTs in their cars. So they can have access to the pictures and blueprints as well versus us just relaying it to them.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask as well. So they'll have that information right with them while they're rolling. So that's...
Yeah, and we share the ticket number for your 911 call, not necessarily your profile. So the officers can't have access to the profile later on. It's that specific ticket number that expires after a while, so your information's kept safe.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Very good. Thank you so much. This is a great life-saving system for our community. Chief, did you have something to add?
No, I just everyone that uses phones, cell phones, you'll see on your bill a 911 tax, and that's this tax money put to use to help purchase the software and give us the opportunity to have this service here in Cal City. So it's no additional cost.
Thank you, sir. Go to smart911.com.
Yeah, it's on a website. You just make your profile there on smart911.com and just add everything you want from your computer. Yes, I guess you could say so. Yes.
Could you?
Mm-hmm. Is that something I need to add to the smartphone? You can. Yes. Yeah.
It's not on. I don't think it is.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I have it set up to where the keys are in a locked container that the police and fire have the number to get those keys out so they can open my gate. They can get in any door in my house. And that's just something else I think everybody in town should have. It's a great, I don't have to worry. As a matter of fact, one night they knocked on my door in the middle of the night because somebody called and said they were checking on me. And I couldn't figure out how the cops got in my yard, but they had the key to get in.
Yeah, that's definitely a note you would want to make. They do have for additional notes and things like that that you can add it on there.
Okay, great.
So everyone knows.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. That's a great presentation, too. Good job.
Just a little factoid. California City last year, people might think this may not really pertain to them. We had 8,000 911 calls last year in Cal City. So about 2 out of 3 residents, in theory, has used 911 last year. So that's
wow.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so at this time, we're going to go on to staff announcements, and thank you again. Good job. We'll take it away, Chief.
All right, so currently the police department has responded to just over 11,500 calls this year. The first week in July is usually pretty busy for us. So far, we responded to 534 calls. Of those calls included 7 domestic violence cases. These are over the last 10 days. 6 residential burglaries, which 4 were arrested. 3 attempt suicides. 2 traffic accidents. And the big one was on 4th of July. A passerby on 20 Mule Team saw a trailer on the side of the road, and as they were looking at this trailer, they found what they believed to be a bomb. At some point, we'll show the device later. It's still under investigation, but I'll describe it to you as basically 8 sticks of believed to have been dynamite. They're actually good enough to be like a movie prop, wires and a timer attached to it. So 20 Mule Team past the prison was closed. We reached out to CDCR Cal City to assist us with coordinating off the area. They sent us 4 of their officers to help contain the area, and we want to thank them for their assistance, along with the Kern County Sheriff's Department Bomb Squad with their robot. Went up and determined that it was not an actual device. They ended up blowing part of it up, and I realized it was basically empty. But someone did a lot of work to make it look like it was real with dynamite markings and everything else on the side. So, and about 2 hours ago, we responded to reported stabbing on Greenwood. Reported woman was stabbed. Ends up there was a dispute between two women. One was stabbed while the other one was battered with a golf club. And both are in police custody. They were a little intoxicated and are on their way to jail right now. That's it.
Wow. Thank you very much, sir. It's an exciting week, exciting day, too. Moving on to Chief Goodell, department update.
Welcome home, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council persons, staff, and constituents. Last couple of weeks in code enforcement, 35 new cases. We closed 19 of them, 5 citations, a couple for fireworks, and then we went to a local business and found a chained exit door. About the second time we had to follow up on that. Yeah, just don't do stuff like that, especially when I'm there. Notice of violations 24 in code enforcement. Complaint forms received 29. For the fire department, calls 7 fires in the last couple of weeks, 66 EMS/rescues, hazards no fire, 13 good intents, 32 false alarms, 3, for a total of 121 in the last couple of weeks. And total fire department calls pretty darn close to 1,500. Just like Eric, we're starting to hit our busy season, so I think we're going to crest 3,200 calls. That'll put us in the top 5 for sure in the county, and I think number 3. That's my bet. Put in right around 8 smoke alarm installed over at Desert Jade, and we've done several blood pressure checks. We do those first Wednesday of every month, and just working throughout the community to do our job like we're supposed to, and meet needs where we're supposed to be doing that. Fire marshal completed 41 inspections, 39 violations found during those inspections. So prevention's pretty darn important also. Doesn't get a lot of press, but I've got to say about $1 spent there is worth like about $100 on the pick up the pieces costs. So we're looking hard at that and doing the best we can.
Thank you as well. You guys, both departments, we really appreciate what y'all are out there doing and what you have to deal with, particularly in this heat, which may be bringing on some of the types of things you have to deal with. Thank you both. Public Works Director Platt, department update, sir.
Mayor, council, and public. For the month of June, to close out, facilities closed out 147 work orders. Projects, the main ones were installing AC and power up to the repeater or radio repeater up on the hill. So I haven't heard nobody yelling at me late, so it must keep the equipment cool enough to stay running. The pool up and running. Desert Jade roughly spent about 30 hours of man hours in there actually doing repair and maintenance to the units, and working on Balsitis Park, which would be some of the controls and irrigation and electrical with the new building. So anybody been by there lately, the new restrooms have been set, concrete works going in, and some of the improvements to the utilities. So soon they'll be working on the parking lot and paving that section that was associated with the park. The street department's closed out 41 work orders, 488 potholes included in 11. Soon they'll be doing all the maintenance and repair on 79th Street. As we know, that water project has been completed, and you will see crews, and you've seen some of the stuff and where the equipment holding is on North Loop. That project will be starting. They're doing bolting together some of the assemblies, having those pre-done so they don't have to do them on the job, and they can drop them in and do those tie-ins. Most of that project's going to be on the north side of the intersection. Won't block a lot of traffic, and we're going to try to stay that side all the way up to Yerba when we finish that whole thing. It's going to get really tight at Hacienda and North Loop, because that is going to be pretty much within the roadway, so we'll be traveling on that north side of at least 2 blocks to tie into the existing 12. Water Department, 10 mainline repairs, 3 blowouts, 25 services replaced, 17 water meters, door hangers for the month, 176, lockout 70, daily activities out of City Hall 221. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, and we really appreciate what y'all are doing as well. We see you out and about. Interim Finance Director Sadijian. Did I say that properly? Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yes, at the moment we are working on finalizing the May financials, and soon it will be released. Also, in the same time, we are involved in cross-training of staff, and we are looking for a very busy month in month of July. In about next few days, we are going to be starting working on June financials and closing the year. So I'm anticipating a very busy few weeks ahead of us.
I can imagine closeouts are always an exciting period of time and take a lot of your time as well. Thank you very much, sir. Parks Manager Devrin, Brenda.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and members of the public. All right, so Parks and Rec is really busy. This is our busy time of year. We started swimming lessons today, and last week we started our adult water aerobics, and that's going very swimmingly. Everybody loves the nice clear water, so the maintenance guys did a good job getting our pool up and running on short notice. We also have a few lifeguards that we've hired, and they're getting ready to start pretty quick here. So we're happy to be well staffed, and everybody's starting to get the word that we're open. Saturday was quite busy. We do have pool rentals available for parties on Friday and Saturday nights. We take drop-ins for adult water exercise. The class is not full, so you're welcome to come on out for that. And we are open Tuesday through Saturday, every day at 1 o'clock, and then at Thursday we open 6 to 8 p.m. for an evening swim. Our fee is $250. And we have to wear plastic pants if we're under 3 years old. They're available at the pool. Keeps our water nice, clean, and safe. Tehachapi's already been closed a couple times for unsafe water, and we don't want that to happen to us. So, knock on wood, hasn't happened in the 5 years that we've required those training pants. So that's an important thing to get out to the public. We also had our fire lane repainted today, so people that come to the pool, we need to leave room for our fire department to get in over there if there happens to be an emergency. So we hope everybody will follow that rule for us. We also offer private swimming lessons too for people of all ages and special needs. Let's see, we got the Whiptails playing on Balsitis Park this week. We have games on the 13th, 16th, 18th, 22nd, so they have a full schedule. For more information, folks can go to www.californiacitywhiptails.com. We also planned a Red Cross blood drive, so mark your calendar now. Save the date for August 16th from 1 to 7 at the Arts and Community Building. This is their desperate time of year. I have their text messages, and they're texting every week because blood supply is usually low in August especially. So if you can give, we appreciate your donation for the Red Cross. We have our indoor walking club still taking place in the Strata Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 11. And we have youth art classes Tuesday from 10 to 12 for 13 up to adults. And then on Thursday, we also have classes for the youth. from 11 to 2, or no, to 12, I'm sorry. 11, trying to find it now. Thursdays from 10 to 12. So come on out to that. That is a free class for youth art. And we have a lot of kids, so there's probably 30 of them or at least over there. Other than that, our Par 3 is closed at this time. Tierra del Sol is open, so there's been some rumors, but it is open. I just want to let everybody know. If you had a membership at the Par 3, it has been transferred over to Tierra del Sol. And that's all I have for you tonight.
I had a couple of things that came up on both of those. I had someone I spoke with today that said that they'd volunteer to mow the lawn on the Par 3. I just thought I'd throw that out there because they enjoy playing out there. And then Tierra del Sol, I understand that there's no internet connection there.
Not yet. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks for the tax, and then that'll change how we run things over there. We're just kind of on life support, literally, right now.
I get it. Well, the men's club need to put their scores in on the computer.
I have offered for them to put the computer at the Strata or maybe do a wireless hotspot with my phone or something like that. So we have an option for them at this point.
Well, thank you very much. I'll pass that on if they're not aware. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A lot of good work. Dockwell, city updates.
We started after our July 4th holiday. Our first real Monday in July started off with our transformer to City Hall going bad for the second time. It was interesting when it went bad the first time. SCE had a hard time even recognizing the importance of why we needed to have power at City Hall. Talked to almost everybody that I could find that would answer a phone at SCE, and finally, what did it take them? 4 hours to show up last time, and they brought the wrong fuse, but it worked. They were supposed to come back and put the right fuse in, and when they came back Monday, of course, the transformer was burned out completely. And in the process of that power fluctuation, our secondary power supply for our data system was fried, and so that's an expense we're going to have to go to be happy to send them a bill. I'm not sure if they'll pay it, but they're going to find out how much it costs to do that. So instead of them fixing it the first time, they came back and and now they had to put a new transformer in, and we've had some expenses. Hopefully we can recover from them. So it's not just the private sector that's suffering from SCE. We also get our share of it too. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been meeting with the staff that is directly involved in the cannabis business permitting process, and we've gone through from page 1 through the end of all of the documents to bring everything up to date based upon what's currently in place, and preparing a new form that will be available online on the website that will give anyone interested in applying in those businesses a roadmap on how they would go through that process and bring it up to date to then be further refined once the Planning Commission sends the ordinances back to the council and the council makes its final decision on the overall cannabis business. Then we'll be able to bring that up to date and be able to go forward with that. We're hoping that at the next council meeting we will have a couple of cannabis business development agreements to bring to the council. Public hearing is required for those, and that's where we would identify, the business would identify the scope of what they're trying to do. The council then would, and the businesses agree on what can be allowed at that particular site. It's very similar to doing a planned unit development. So we're able to go in and in the area developed in the agreement, we can actually make some decisions without having to go through rezoning. We could allow some uses in that under the development agreement that might not be normally allowed within a zone. And by the same token, then the city can ask the developer to do certain things that they would not normally have to do. And so what it does in most cases for the cannabis businesses is that it freezes the regulations under which they operate based upon what is in place at the time that the agreements are executed. And for them, say we have a business park that had the capacity to handle 50 various cannabis businesses, then we would agree that they would have roughly 7 years, within which they could put in 50 cannabis-related businesses. And so, regardless of what happened elsewhere, that gives them the assurance of being able to go out and market their properties. And so we've got 2, possibly 3 of those ready to bring to the council for public hearing and discussion. So we are seeing some progress, movement in that area to be able to bring forward some concrete, literally some concrete proposals on getting those businesses off the ground.
Thank you very much, sir. That's encouraging news, actually. Council AB 1234, council updates?
I went to the one last week, but I brought that up at the prior council.
He provided.
So I had nothing coming up.
All right, nothing for me. At this time, we'll move into civic, community, and organization announcements. Do we have any civic, community, or organization announcements tonight? 3, 2, yes, ma'am.
Catherine, Cal City Safe. We do have yard signs if somebody would like to have a yard sign. I have some in my car, actually, but I do have them at the office. We have about 50 of them at the office, thereabouts, depending on how many people were picking them up today. But they are available. We will have the billboard up, hopefully, later tonight on both sides. That's a 20-foot wide by 8-foot sign that looks like the sign that's in front of the office, says yes on C. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Anyone else have any civic, community, or organization announcements?
Hi, everybody. How you doing? I'm Pipkin Reptile Removal. On Measure C, these brochures were put out. I could have swore that when it was put out that it was going to be for fire and police.
Okay. That sounds more like a public business from the floor item, not a civic community announcements for organizations, unless you're representing a particular organization.
No.
Okay. If you could wait until we move into that, that would be wonderful. Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. Do we have any other civic, community, and organization announcements? I'd say stand close by, Now we move into public business from the floor. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the City Council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the City Council has jurisdiction. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Yes, sir, please run right on up.
Well, you all know who I am. I just announced it. Measure C, from what I understood, was supposed to be for fire and police, to have our fire and police out there and give us more opportunity to have officers out there. But what it's stating here is no police on duty after midnight. I understand it says no, but why would that even be printed on there?
Well, you would probably have to speak with, the chief could probably tell you why, the folks from the organization.
Could I address?
Bob? Yes, sir.
The brochure he's talking about is not one that we created.
Okay. You have to go back to the
It's been
organization.
sent out by that organization. They should speak for it, not us.
There we go. Thank you, sir.
That's why I was asking questions, because I had an opportunity of my house being sold because I'm moving to Arkansas. And when they saw the brochure, they immediately thought that we would not have police or fire out here, and they decided that they were going to go to Lancaster instead and find a house out there. And what it's really doing, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, not trying to knock anybody in any way, shape, or form, but it's scaring people to the point where they're actually not wanting to come here. And if you guys are trying to bring more into the town, I tell you what, if I was to get this in the mail and I wasn't living here and I was thinking about moving here, because that would say, okay, we don't have any protection. That's all it is.
Thank you. And again, that would be Cal City Safe that you would want to speak with. Thank you so much, sir. Anybody else for public business from the floor?
Rick Warren, California City, 8612 Jimson Avenue. I'm impressed with the check
Excuse me just a moment. I'm sorry, sir. Don't let him read. let's kind of keep the chatter down when people are up here. Thank you so much. Oh, would you start over, sir? I'm sorry.
No problem.
We know who you are.
I'm impressed with the check register for the first time in a long time. The health engineering, only a few $100s. I'm amazed. Either we got someone else doing it, or we're slowly not doing any engineering recently. But I am amazed that we are finally got him kind of under control. If you look at it, there's only one health engineer and 395.
We're not on the consent calendar yet.
Oh no, but there's
we're public business from the floor.
I'm just kind of saying that I'm impressed with it. Now, is there anything? Your statement on Southern Cal Edison is amazing because that has restricted growth in our city. Has there been push towards Southern Cal Edison to finish wiring in the properties out at the airport or anything in that direction? Because I know that that's the drawback on any construction and building in this area. If the city hall is having problems with their transformer, have we started to push the Southern Cal Edison for those that actually have paid for permits and stuff to get building going, to get the power run out at the airport? That's what I'm asking. Has the city or any of the staff or anybody followed up with Southern Cal Edison to move them a little further forward for those companies and businesses that want to build out in that direction?
The reality is that they don't listen to anyone. And so while we see them doing things in the community, we usually find out about it when we see them. And so there are efforts being made to try and figure out a line of communication to open with them to help us understand where they're going with these things. Because as we start responding to these products or these projects that we know have substantial needs that are in an area that is supposed to have been served last summer, and there's still no conductors in the area, it is difficult for us to feel good we're going forward with them. And so we can make progress when we talk to the local guys who actually work on the systems, but when it comes to the larger decision of when they're actually going to follow through on the commitment they've made, we haven't been able to break through that wall yet.
Because I know that we were trying to do that at least 3 years ago with the energy meeting with Southern Cal Gas. We had everybody here at that meeting explaining the future needs and the goals, actually way before this all really panned out to where it is today. And somehow we need to, I don't know if there is a way for the city to kind of get to them. I know you're already in that part. So.
Rick, can I update you on that from 3 years ago? Yeah. Because we have had roundtables with both Edison and the gas company here in these chambers, and we just probably need to have another one. And also to all of the cannabis business folks were advised very early on to call Edison early and often, and that's from their own representatives that were here. They even brought folks to help do energy efficient build outs for the various types of construction for the various type of cultivation facilities. So it's not like the city hasn't done anything, but you know, it may be time for us to sit down with them, but we need to add to the table of utilities, anyone that has broadband, you know, whoever can provide that, because it is anymore. And if the 911 texting situation, you know, we're there. That is a technology, and that's the phone company and cellular company. So they are a utility now, more than anything else. So yeah, we have been working on that. We just have to circle the wagons with them again. We had several regular meetings with them, and there are several people in this room that were sitting in the audience and participating. So it's difficult, because when I went to Sacramento to do a presentation with CalEd, you know, their concerns are, you know, their answer to everyone is they can't meet all the needs. Well, they have to meet some of the needs, because alternative energies are coming to us and speaking on ways that they can provide certain energy. So there's a lot of things going on in the we're not relying only on Southern California Edison. So, and those are the things that I know in my small little piece of this. So we try to do whatever we can, and maybe if somebody comes in with alternative energy that takes off like gangbusters, that'll awaken some folks to get more motivated. So we are looking at it.
The problem is we'd still have to go through Southern Cal Edison because they have the power lines, so they still have us kind of in that direction. You're correct, and I appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Not necessarily, because you have gas, cogen, and other things. So, but thank you, sir. Anyone else? Public business from the floor. Okay. It's a race. Pick a number. Grab.
Good evening, Mary Wadey speaking. I just wanted to make a statement that it's good to know that some movement is going forward with the cannabis industries, but I do have a couple of questions dealing with 4 of them, or actually 5. I had an opportunity to go on the Bureau of Cannabis Control, and I see that there are 4 businesses with their state licenses. Out of those 4, it is Cannabis World Cultivation, Swan Bay Solutions, Regal Green Remedies, and Fox Hunter Incorporated. Of those 4 businesses, how many of them have been able to go forward with operations, go ahead and continue their construction and stuff?
You could give us all of your questions. We'll try to answer them all.
Okay. The other one has to do with Mountain Chief Cannabis, I guess also known as CHC Holdings or CHC California City or CHC Cal City. I wasn't able to locate them on the Bureau of Cannabis Control, so I'm wondering if they're going under a different name for their state license. And I know in January they did the groundbreaking and said that they would be completed with their building in March, I believe, and ready for business in April. But I understand there are issues arise, but I'm wondering what their status is right now. I did have an opportunity to go out and see some of the work that they've done, not on the property, but I see they have the building up and it's almost up way in the middle of nowhere. But I wanted to know how that is going and how that construction is going and when they'll be up and ready to go. And then as for Alberto's, I know a statement, I think it was Mr. Platt or maybe not, but is there a 2-year, there was a 2-year wait for Alberto's to come and get started. And with their construction, I do believe I heard a statement made during city council. So I'm just wondering how long did it take for Mountain Chief Cannabis to be able to get started in their construction and to be almost completed with their building? And last question is, what is the addresses for the Fox Hunter Incorporated, where it's going to be, the address for Regal Green Remedies, where it's going to be, the address for Swan Bay Solutions, where it is going to be, and also the address for Cannabis World Cultivation, where it's going to be. I already have the address for the Mountain Chief Cannabis or CHC Holdings, which is, I guess, addressed as 20,000 Bucknell Road. So that's the end of my questions.
Okay, let me start from the top. Okay. You asked about the permittees, and I know that Bob has a lot of this information, so we make him tab team some of it. But do you have the answer on the permittees at the state level?
Of the 4 current state licenses, there is 1 in production.
Yes.
1 in production?
Yes.
It's Big Flower Grow.
And what's the name of that one?
Big Flower Grow.
Big Flower.
And
it's on Neuralia.
They're on Neuralia. Yeah. As far as the others, the progress on the businesses, we have a daunting list to try and go through to tell you where everybody's at in the process, but we have people all the way from still working on concepts to pulling building permits and everything in between. Mountain Chief came in, they were in here 1 week. By the following week, we had them into construction from the time that they came in and were ready to proceed on their project, and so they've been moving forward as they've been able to get the work done there, and we haven't heard from them a predicted opening date. In none of the cases with any of these businesses have we required of them a projected opening date. We just work with them as they come through the various stages, and so those answers are all available during the daytime, but it's a list that we don't bring to the meeting with us, and I don't have it on top of my head. As far as Alberto's, they've gone into construction from the time that they pulled their original building permits, or finally pulled the building permit and had their site plan done. They were in construction within a month after that. I think they're anticipated another 60 days and they should be open. And so that's all we know about all of those businesses. And so
right.
those folks who have come forward with their projects ready to go have been able to go from their concept into construction in 30 days to 6 weeks, which is about a year and a half shorter than it would take you normally in this business to get a permit to start construction. So we're doing remarkably well in dealing with those businesses. But as far as the detail on each business, if you want to come in during the day, we'd be more than happy to share what we've got.
All right, thank you.
And then, Mary, I think where you got the 2 years for Alberto's, there wasn't a 2-year wait.
No, I was
what
here.
That was, what that, I'm going to tell you where you got that. You got that from me because it took about 2 years, and from the time we had the first discussion for them to make the commitment and get to where they are today. So if you backtrack what you see right now, 2 years, they were trying to decide if they're going to make a commitment. And it took some time to go from, the 80-20 to so on, to get on the right side of it. So they're working now, and it's moving forward. So, and the addresses for the businesses, you generally don't provide an address, like a street address, until you actually have a construction. Am I correct? Right. So you'd have to actually have a brick stick structure, something, before you assign an address to it.
Okay. Well, I have seen some areas with brick and fence, mortar, whatever you want to call it, that are on ground and look like they're in construction. So, but there's no address posted like at Alberto's. So that's why I'm asking.
I understand. And I go back to once they get to that point where they can assign an address, they will.
Okay. How
you can
long
check during the day. Well, if you'd like to talk to Mr. Platt, or if you'd like to talk with the building department during the day, they can provide you with a lot more information.
Okay. Last
Thank
question. With the ordinance, where would I find that, in the city ordinance or the general plan?
It wouldn't be in the general plan, but what you mean? What Mr. Stockwell is talking about earlier
the
about
process for the
they're going to
construction and development. Would you know that?
Oh,
now,
that piece. Okay.
The current one is actually on the website, right on a link right on the front page.
Okay.
When you open the website, it says cannabis. You click on that, and the current procedures are all listed.
I think she's asking about construction and addresses and that stuff.
The ordinance.
It's not a. It would.
Or is it in the general plan? The process for that, of receiving your address.
Those are parts in the building code, and you don't issue a building code because it's tied to life safety more than anything else until there's actually a building, is the normal process.
Okay, so
Thank
it's
you, Mary.
actually a building and not just putting up brick.
Mary, thank you very much. Your time has expired. If you could speak with these folks during the day, that would be very helpful. Any other public business from the floor? Yes, ma'am.
Christy Munt, and Denise, this is going to take about 30 seconds longer than 3 minutes. So, I have lived here in Cal City for just about 5 years now. In that time, I have tried to get involved in what is going on in our city. I attend council meetings. I stepped up to be on the CCCAC. I have done many city cleanups. I have volunteered at City Hall, and I do Meals on Wheels. I have even been called the local activist. This past weekend was another city cleanup. And I'm sad to say that only 9 citizens in our town took time to help their city. A city of 13,000 people and only 9 people show up. On top of that, there was only 1 man, 4 kids, and 4 women, 2 of whom are in their 60s. Shame on all of you. I know there are some good reasons why you couldn't help, but there are far too many lazy excuses. It's only 3 hours. We started at 7 a.m., and the heat was not bad. If I can handle it, the younger people sure could have. It's summer vacation for the kids, and I bet most of them had nothing to do on Saturday. If we can only get 9 people to show up for a city cleanup, how many will you think will show up to run for council?
Sad to say, we have too many people seeing everything wrong but won't step up. I will not run because being on the council requires too much travel out of town. If I could be on the council and not leave town, I would think about it. The other thing I want to talk about is the upcoming election. I posted on Facebook the other day that I received my ballot and to vote. Well, that started people fighting with me and others on how to vote. I didn't say anything about that. I said to vote. As I've said for many years, because I want everyone to register to vote, I don't care how you vote, but vote. Well, amongst the comments, I was called, quote, incredibly ignorant, and, quote, out of my mind. Just because I have a different opinion than you do is no reason to be rude. That is what is wrong with this whole country. We cannot have a civil conversation without calling names. I have worked on all 3 measures the last 2 years trying to help our town. I have gone to every business on CCB, put out yard signs, put flyers on doors. This time I'm offering rides to the polls and helping people register to vote. Sad to say, we had only around 1,600 people vote in each of the 2 previous elections in a town of 13,000 again, where only 5,400 even registered to vote. This is also reflected in our country. When we have less than 30% of the people vote, our government does not represent the majority of its citizens. One of the hardest things we have to do is be a citizen of this country. I believe that if our town cannot get this cannabis industry up and going very soon, it will never happen, because the owners of these businesses will go elsewhere. It has been over 2 years since the cannabis industry dropped this chance in our laps, and we have one. That's right, one business up and running. This should not be the case. I have said from the first time I spoke on this item, get it done as fast as you can. If we get in on the ground floor, we will be the town to follow. For now, I've had enough of it all. I'm going home to think on if I will continue to be involved. Thank you.
Christy, there's not much I can say about all the work you do other than thank you. But the only reason I wasn't there on Saturday is because I was sick. I was in bed Friday and Saturday all day. But normally I go to every single one of them.
I know you do, and I was surprised when you weren't there.
No, but you're right. We have a lot of people that could come out and do things to help the city. And we do have people in this audience tonight
Right.
I've seen
But this
volunteer and participate in many things. Rick Warren, for example, was on a community cleanup with us, and Ilana's been out there. We have a lot of people that could do it, but it's the same ones.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the
That's
same
it.
ones.
And if we do get a large group, it's 20.
Yeah, so don't give up
25 at
on
the
us.
most. And it's not just that. It's just everything else. You guys hear it constantly. People complain. But they don't come up with suggestions, and they don't step up to do something.
Yeah.
So.
Just reconsider, because we do.
Well, I'm going to think on it, because
greatly
right
appreciate you.
now I've had it up to here with everything. But I am
Sister, I feel you.
I've already
I'm
voted
telling you.
yes, and my ballot's already in Denise's office.
I feel your pain. Trust me. Thank you,
for
ma'am.
everything you do, Christy.
Very much so. Anyone else? Mr. Hudson, yes.
Good evening, Al Hudson. First off, I wasn't able to make it to the closed session, but I do have what I consider a very important contribution on the closed session. The town of East Providence, Rhode Island, bought 5 KME trucks, Lemons, and they had conversations with KME, and the bottom line is KME was sued for $2.5 million in federal court. And with that, I can move on to my other things here. But we should make a note of it and spend less attorney time talking and more time getting things done. On the cannabis, the city water is not fit to grow cannabis, plain and simple. Because of, even though it passes the chemical test and all of that stuff, it kills the plants. So these cultivators are not only going to have to try to seek power, but they're going to also have to run a water purification system. That's been tried and tested, and that is absolutely true. Small plants will not survive. The people that have buildings and such now in the cannabis industry, instead of donating $10,000 to Measure C, they could buy a generator that would produce the power necessary for their cultivation and such. Using LED lights, the power is really insignificant, and they could get a very bare minimum grow, or not grow, but harvest of once a year, because of the plants naturally flower in a year, and their flowering and cultivation is controlled by light. I'm going to move on. When are we going to get the water payments? We're missing those, the water payments and sewer payments again. Seems to be getting to be habitual. The next thing is, when will we have the, not that you're working on it, but when will we have the completed financial or monthly financial reports, and are we going to run into this situation on a regular basis? And the next thing here is, if we really want to help the cannabis industry, we need to open it up to outdoor cultivation. We have dragged our feet long enough. We've are denied sufficient large quantities or large amounts of tax revenue because of lack of cultivation and production. We need to get this going, or get completely out of it. We're taking these people's money, and we're not getting any tax revenue, and they're not getting any business. So let's crap or get off the pot.
Okay, Mr. Hudson, your time has expired.
You didn't tell Mary that.
You know what? I was reminded later by Denise. I didn't. That, you know what?
Hudson,
I'm so glad I'm back.
Don't be so mad. Did the people win those lawsuits with KME? Did the lawsuits against KME, were those? Did they win? Did they prevail? I'm sorry. Did those lawsuits, did they prevail when they sued KME?
Okay, in the federal courts, I have not tracked the entire procedure down, because, you know, $2.5 million is a nice sum of money, and the town of East Providence, Rhode Island, I want to talk to the city attorney and city manager about the success on that, and how long it took to get this settled.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'll bring that information back to you.
Any other public business from the
you.
floor?
Madam Mayor, Council, if indeed we're not able to get anything for the KME, I would encourage you to ponder putting it at the park and using it for the kids to play on, and we don't have to worry about it rolling over them because it won't move. So just a thought there. Our city gets beat up on a, I wasn't kidding about that either, so I don't know why you're laughing. Our city gets beat up on a regular basis, and I can understand Christie being upset that very few turned out, but we have a lot of volunteers in this community, and a lot of volunteers that don't draw attention themselves and what they do. And less than a week and a half ago, had the privilege of being involved in a memorial service for a man who lost 2 legs and a thumb, and would be in that situation 35 years ago when he was on the USS Enterprise. And I was incredibly delighted. I was shocked when about 50 Patriot Guard riders showed up and brought his remains all the way from Palmdale. He was a longtime resident in our community, all the way from Palmdale, and was absolutely thrilled when I when I saw that at least 3 of those Patriot Guard riders from our community. One of those men are here right now. I want to publicly thank Commissioner Jim Creighton for taking the day and escorting Paul's remains all the way from Palmdale. Steve and Janet Burgess were also a part of that and gave up the better part of their day in the heat to be able to show respect for a man who gave. His life was cut short because of the limbs that he gave for his country. And we have a lot of volunteers in this community, and I think that our Patriot Guard riders should certainly be recognized tonight. So very thankful for the honor that they gave. California City gets beat up on a regular basis, and really is at this particular time, a lot of negative stuff is being said about our town. This is a great place to live. Most of you have lived here for a very, very long time. Many in this audience have lived for a long time, but whether you lived here for a short time or a long time, this is a great place to live, and very thankful for the Patriot Guard riders and what they did. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, and thank you very much, Jim. And the couple also.
Steve and Janet Burgess.
Thank you very much to the Burgesses for their participation in this. This is very heartwarming and an honor. Thank you.
There were probably others from California City.
Yeah.
So many I probably didn't.
Well, let's just blanket thank you all to the Patriot Guard riders and anyone that participated, be it from our city and elsewhere, and let's give them a round of applause for their help for us. It's very much appreciated. We need to take care of those folks that we've lost and remember them with honor, and that's exactly what they did. Thank you so much. Any other public business from the floor? Well, okay. I can't answer about the $10,000 for the generator or the LED lights. The water and sewer payments, we will get that information. Mr. Stockwell will answer that.
We took Al's advice and we borrowed that from the water and sewer fund to pay our general fund for this month.
There we go. Okay. And then I'm sure he's kidding. And the financial statements are due the 15th. Today is the 10th. Outdoor cultivation, I can't answer that. And the city water quality for cannabis, I think in all of the facilities I've looked at, no matter where the source of the water is, they do their own filtration for their own needs.
Madam Mayor, Dr. Trent Jones is growing out hemp and is doing a very fine job out there. So he is growing in the ground or with pots out in the desert there.
And there are also some concerns about cross-pollination that might occur that affects some strains too. So that's why you don't want to get into that kind of business warehouse and wholeheartedly. But that's a discussion for another day. Those are the only things that I can answer for you of your questions, because I'm not an expert on the $10,000 generator nor the LED lights or really any of this, to be honest with you. But you'll have the financials out on the 15th, the monthly financial statements. Those will be out. And then the water and sewer payments, maybe you can get back to us. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Any other? Yes, sir. Come on up. Yes, sir.
I'm Rick Nicholson. Good evening. I'm following up about the dog park. I know we talked about there was supposed to be a water was supposed to be put into there, and I want to follow up about that.
Great question.
It's been a little while since, I've brought that up, so I'm following up about that. I also voted for the tax. I think we need to raise this city, and, I think we are beating ourselves up too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually thinking of bringing a coffee shop in town.
Yep.
And I'm still looking at the positives and the negatives, so I have a GoFundMe account that I put out there, and I did the fundable, but it's too much money. It's like $178 a month, and that's something I can't afford right now. So, but I still would appreciate it because I think something that people want in town, and I think would be really nice, and we need a place where people come over and relax.
Very good. Before you go away, though, can anyone tell me what's happened to the water thing that we bought for the dog park?
I'm trying to find out that right now.
Okay. I tell you what, we'll get an answer to you.
Okay.
Because I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I hadn't asked about that in a while. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other public business from the floor? Seeing no movement, I'm going to go to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion if no member of the council, staff, or public wishes to comment or ask questions. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and there's a roll call vote required. Consent calendar 1 is the approval of the city check registers dated, dated 7/3/18, and the second is a second reading by title only with further reading waived and adopt, and I will read it. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of California City adopt the following actions. 1, adopt of, I think it's supposed to be adoption, of initial study and negative declaration 18-1. 2, adopt general plan amendment GP-18-01 to change the general plan designation for a 20-acre parcel located approximately 1.2 miles east of State Highway 14 and 0.8 miles north of California City Boulevard from estate density R5 to light industrial M1, and 3, adopt zone change number 18-01. Those are the items on the consent calendar. Does anybody in the public have any questions about either of those items? Before you speak. That's assuming. So you can sit here, but just. Okay, sir. Yes, Mr. Hudson.
Okay, check number 103076. That's to West Coast AML, MMB, for $18,530.50. What in the world is that about? And
okay, that is the company that we have that vets our cannabis companies. That it used to be HDL, now it's West Coast AML Services, and I guess
because this company's only been in business for 2 years, and they are primarily a financial oversight entity for the cannabis industry.
I understand that, and we
therefore, what qualifications do they have for vetting? I think that the city should contract with a cannabis attorney to walk us through the vetting process, because this 18,000 just with this company just doesn't smell right.
Okay.
It's marijuana you're
No
smelling.
pun intended here, sir, but the situation is that this company came to the council for us to approve us using this company, and they do this type of vetting services for us. So this was a council approval that was made some time back, and we have been using them ever since that point.
Okay, because
yes, sir?
I was looking at their qualifications, and there's absolutely nothing in their paper that I printed out that talks about vetting. And the other question is, who brought them up? They just popped out of the thin air and came to California City and said, we will do the vetting for you?
Mayor, I could address a portion of that. The process that we use them for is primarily financial, because that's where the the difficult task came from, is to be able to vet people and find out what their true financial background has been. And in addition to that, they are certified and do live scans. They do they take the live scan information and can do further background investigations as a result of that. So they bring the combination of both the financial understanding the access to all of the reporting agencies, so that when we go through this process, what they do for us is a pass-fail on the applicants, so that we don't see the detailed financial information, nor do we see the criminal investigation work. But they go through that process, and we are very comfortable with what they're doing. They turn things around on a timely basis. They're very conversant with what's going on in the industry, and we're comfortable that we're doing not only for ourselves getting the information we need, but it's been of a great help to those applying for the licenses, because when they go through this process, the remainder of the process of completing things is much more simple for them.
No, okay, because the information that they have on their website, as they talk about banking cannabis, legacy cash, which is the purchase of real estate, investment capital, forfeiture, transportation business, and the Bank Secrecy Act is what they tout on their website. So,
well, one thing they say on their website, I'll just read this to you quick. It says West Coast AML Services is a Bank Secrecy Act anti-money laundering risk management firm committed to the safety, soundness, and reputation of financial institutions banking the cannabis industry. So they're in all of that.
That does nothing, nowhere on their site that I read. Right, okay, I've been there. That gives them qualifications for vetting, because we don't need another HDL.
Okay, sir, so the question was that you initially came up for was, what was this company for?
Yes.
And that's the answer, and that's why we use them.
Okay,
I recall the former finance director, that's what she presented.
Exactly.
That they would help us to prevent those types of problems. Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know the city was in the cannabis financial business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other folks on the consent calendar? Consent calendar 1 or 2? Any questions from the public on either of those?
I do. I'm Rick Nicholson again. You said about Cal City and Highway 14.
Yes, sir.
That's around 100 acres there.
Yes, sir, it is.
That's where I live.
Okay.
So is that going to be, are there going to be some of the land's going to be M1 converted, if I understand correctly? Okay. And are they going to be building on that land when it's purchased?
Normally, we do the zone change for projects that are coming up.
Okay, understood.
I just don't have any. No projects scheduled? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, never mind. I was wrong. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have somebody from the Planning Commission here, too, keeping me straight. Yes, ma'am.
Since I'm already standing up here, my question was pretty much the same as his.
Okay.
Exactly where this area was. And then my other question is why or who would be doing a project or doing construction in that area in order to, what was the purpose of the zone change?
Well, you just got the answer from.
Okay,
from
but there's no project.
Obviously, I'm wrong. Yes, not yet.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else have anything on the consent calendar? Okay, I'll move it up here for questions on the consent calendar. Anyone have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Check number 103002, Kern County Mitigated Negative Declaration, 2,280.75. Is this check related to the zone change?
I don't know specifically that, but anything that we would do that all goes through the county and does that, and the applicant actually pays those fees.
That was my question, okay. I have one other question on that. So they have a mitigated negative declaration. If they were to decide to build, would they have to do another EIR study, or is this negative declaration good?
We're taking the context to actually use the redevelopment paperwork that was filed way back when.
Right.
So we're submitting a lot of applications as either mitigated or non, and it'll just depend on what the state wants to do as far as these projects. But if it's mitigated, they may have to do some mitigation measures based on something that was found. I don't know what off the top of my head was found on that property. If there was a tortoise or a fox or squirrels, and I think actually it was squirrels, they might have to do something to mitigate that.
Thank you.
Question, sir, on the...
Yes, I've got, hard seeing, 103010 Borton and Petrini Arias case.
That's that traffic accident,
We're
isn't
still involved in that.
I believe so, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. That's just cleanup, I guess, right?
I believe that's what it is.
Okay. I got that.
I have one more.
Okay.
And I didn't put the number down. Okay, we got Kern County Auditor Controller, 1819 LAPCO operating, $5,839.
Okay, that's the 103050.
Yeah, LAFCO's me.
Right, that's...
Yeah, but that he has a check, and it'll say on there what we're paying for.
So the bill on
there it is.
Barton Bertrini, the payee, is the ongoing litigation costs. Review of plaintiff's case management file again, travel to court on case management conference, attendance at management conference, just goes on. So it's just ongoing review and management of the case as it works its way through the courts.
Okay. I just keep seeing it pop up every now and then, and so it's ongoing.
No, the one he's just talking about.
Then, yeah, my last one would be, as the mayor said, 103050. Auditor Controller, LAPCO operating, $5,838. Do we have any idea what that is?
So we are billed every year for our share of the cost of operating LAPCO. Our share identified in the bill from them is the 5839. So they do it based, I guess, upon the population. We look, Bakersfield is 67%, Shell City is 2.937%.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have
Anything?
on
All right, sir.
CC1.
You have anything on CC2?
I believe Mr. Platt answered that, the mitigated negative declaration. I was wondering if they were going to have to do another EIR study if they decided to build. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we had another case, I guess, a few weeks ago where we had a similar situation, and that, yeah, they're going to have to do an EIR if they do something.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. Who owns the APN that's mentioned in CC2? The APN 225083-03. Who?
That's Devery Grimshaw and Josh Meister, or his LLC. They co-own that.
I don't know. It says just her.
No, I think she just owns
It's just her. It's just her on the property.
Okay, when I asked her last week, she said they were co-owners, so that's why I made that statement. Thank you.
That's not what's, well, I'm just saying that's not what's on the county records. And it needs to be updated then. There you go. Anything else? I have a question on West Coast AML for the $18,537.50. How many applicants were, I noticed that on the check it gives you number of hours, but do we know how many applicants that this constitutes?
Indication is roughly 5 applicants.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for me. Anyone else?
I don't know. I just have, we need to find out who the owner of that property is, because I just have some concerns in that, I just have some concerns.
What kind of concerns? If you could help us illuminate what's going on.
I think possibly I can answer that for you, Mr. Stump. The Grimshaw family has owned that property for a long time. That zone would allow a lot of things to happen there. And it's only fair that that family be allowed to change that zoning so that they too can profit from what the M1 zone can bring. It's not just cannabis, let me just tell you that right now. And it's close enough to the highway, both of them, CCB and 14, to bring in other industry and businesses because it's close. It's close to 14, and you get off of CCB. I can take you from the entrance to CCB off of 14 in either direction up to that property in about 3 minutes, give or take, on the road.
Mayor, I do recall Debbie saying that her parents had owned that property for a very long time. So
I've got those documents right here, but yes, you're correct. And you're correct. And you're correct.
Yeah, and just as a note, it's not a standalone property out there. It's actually conjoining and touching other
Exactly.
M1 or M2
That just
properties.
happens to
So
be the one. Thank you very much.
The concern that I had is nothing against who owns it, but we've talked in here about Wonder Acres on how our city loses money over the water there because I guess they get their water from a different source or something like that. So if you're going to develop it, how much are we going to lose as a city by supplying, say they grew marijuana and cannabis, and we had to supply the water. We're already losing money on Wonder Acres now. So how much more would we lose since it's not in California City proper is what I would call it?
absolutely nothing because Mojave doesn't have the capacity to serve, so they would have to bring water. Anybody who develops there is going to have to bring water to the table, and those costs would be their burden.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Do you have any other, oh wait, this way. Checks? Anything? 7:30's done.
Yeah, I know,
I
7:30 's
just thought I'd let
done.
you
Working on
know
8,
that.
though.
Huh?
Working on 8.
He's working on 8:30.
Working for
Did you have any others?
7:45.
Okay. So seeing that there are no other questions on this, everyone? Okay.
I'm shooting for 7:45.
Don't throw that. All right. So I'm looking for a motion on the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'm looking for a second.
Somebody second it.
I'll second it. I'll second it. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember McGuire.
Just to keep it above board, I'm going to recuse myself from check number 103050, which deals with LAFCO, which I'm part of. Everything else, yes.
Paris.
Yes.
Stump.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Abstain from CC2. Everything else, yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes. Thank you very much. New business. New business 1, request for proposals, financial audit, organizational assessment. City Manager Stockwell.
Members of the council, you bear with me for a minute while I go through the kind of a lengthy lead up into this particular issue. To bring us back into perspective where we are today, as we look at the financial future of the city, we have the potential for the parcel tax to pass on July 31st, and that's the potential I want to talk about. The other part is a different discussion. But if the tax is to pass, I think before we go forward to really implement anything other than simply restoring the organization to what it was authorized as of last year, my suggestion to council would be going into that we would if the tax passes, do much as what we did at the last meeting, where we moved the budget forward another 3 months as at the same structure that it was in the prior budget year, which would allow us then to fill all of the vacant positions, authorized positions. But then during that 90-day period of time, that we go and do a detailed analysis of ourselves, that we recognize that there's been tremendous change in the community. And to give you a quick recap of that, the parcel tax vote failed in June of 2017 and again in April of 2019, or 18, 17 and 18. We've had 3 changes in management of the finance department in the past 3 years. We've had 2 city managers over the past 12 months. There have been almost continual upheaval in both the police and fire departments administration since 2017. We ventured into the complex and demanding process of courting the cannabis industry, while critics within the city, inside the city organization, and at the county level have been working to undermine the first real economic opportunity California City has seen in decades. We have tackled this venture without any additional personnel and at cost of overextending the capacity of all the departments involved in the process. Some statutes and regulations relating to first medical marijuana and then recreational cannabis have been changing almost monthly as we have attempted to get businesses approved and into operation. The Kern County Grand Jury has allowed itself to be used as a conduit for unsubstantiated allegations and complaints focused on Cal City's decision to pursue the cannabis industry, resulting in 3 separate reports since March of 2017. The consistent theme from most of the critics is a lack of trust, inefficiency in city operations, and distrust in the financial information the city provides. So given all of the above, if Measure She passes, I think we need to step back and do a very detailed analysis of 2 areas. One, our organizational structure from top to bottom, looking at every department and division to determine how best to use the resources the citizens have given us to address each of those service areas that we are responsible for. And then secondly, that we do a true financial audit, that we go back for 3 years. Some people use the term forensic audit, which sounds like criminal. But what it really means is that we go beyond looking at our financial statements, that we go in and answer a lot of the questions that have been asked. How did we evolve to where we are financially? What is it that we should be doing? And then based upon those studies, we then develop our organization in the open. I think on the financial audit, one of the requirements of that would be that the auditors meet publicly with anyone desiring to share information with the city about its finances, that they have evening meetings where citizens could come out and ask questions and give input, and that their audit be extended beyond just looking at the city's books, but being able to answer some of those financial questions. And then combine that, going simultaneous with that we do a detailed organizational assessment, which in some cases you might call a performance evaluation, something of the several areas, that would examine every department of the city with the purpose of examining what's the best way that we should be using the resources we have, how should we be organized, what staffing levels we should be looking for. Excuse me, I don't know what's happened with my voice. But that we use then those reports to build our budget for the coming year, and that we do this examination in sufficient detail that it really helps us see where we can improve, where we can stop doing some things that we shouldn't be doing, and where we can do some things that we haven't been doing. I think while we might have the capacity within our organization to do a pretty good analysis, unfortunately that would come with a lot of jaded comments and a view from many people that it was it was self-serving or not well thought through. So I think with the tax approved, I think that that small level of trust that we will have obtained to get it passed, that we should use some of those resources to first answer the questions that have been lingering for so long. And then, in the public process of adopting a budget to go forward, that we have those workshops and hearings where the opportunity where we can lay out the organization and the funding the way that that it should be done best, and proceed then and put behind us for once and for all a lot of these questions that have gone unanswered, so that we can focus instead on a positive future that we can accomplish with the trust of the citizens. And I think it's a trust that we have to earn, and it has to be one based upon facts, not opinions, certainly not on innuendos. And right now we're short on facts. We know where the money's at, but we need to do a better job of demonstrating on an annual basis with our budget, and then as we report throughout that year, not only where we're at financially, but where we're at organizationally, so that we know that we properly sized our police and fire departments, that our administrative overhead is where it should be, that we're not overextending or underspending on what we should be doing with those things, that we're looking at how we have sufficient internal controls by way of proper staffing in our finance operations. What is the best way to accomplish the things that we need to do as we grow the cannabis industry? It's, I think, important to note that there has not been one employee added to the city from the beginning of the concept of cannabis to where we are today. Yet we have gotten close to 200 separate applications through the process to where those individuals who are interested in going forward are able to. But we can't keep pushing that can down the road. We will at some point reach the point where, without people who can dedicate their full-time efforts to addressing this this industry, that we will be making some serious errors. Believe me, I'm not emotional about this. I'm excited about it, but not emotional. So my hope is that we can tonight come to an understanding of what it is that we would like to do here, and set a direction. I think for us to be prepared to implement this concept, that we would need to go forward and actually put out the request for proposals in these two areas so that we could start getting responses. Until we receive them, we won't know what it's going to cost, because it's something both are kind of unique in that we're talking a very comprehensive review, but they will be substantial. But I think if there's money a way that we could spend some of the revenue that has been given to us by the citizens would be to help gain their understanding and trust, that it would be money very well spent. So I'd be happy to respond to any questions. And what I'm looking for is for the council to hopefully authorize me to proceed on this and issue these RFPs. Thank you.
I'll speak up. I have some things to say on that. One of the things that you talked about is, we have a lot of transition in the city, and you said two city managers over the last 12 months, but we've had two city managers over the last 9 years also. So we've only had one other city manager over the last 9 years other than you. So that's kind of misleading in a way. As far as budgeting, one thing that I've always harped on, and I got beat up by J.M. Powers on it, but I'm a believer now, and that's we should do some zero-based budgeting, which we aren't doing, but we should do that for our city. And if you do zero-based budgeting, you'll see exactly how many people you need, because you'll justify every position you have. One thing that alarms me in a way is we've made severe cuts to the finance department, where they're not crippled, but they're struggling to make things work now, and that's why they're behind. And I think that some of the cuts that we made, or some of the people who have gone, maybe we did too much to the finance department. You talked about people making bogus things to the grand jury. That's their prerogative to do that. Now, I don't agree with most of the stuff that a lot of people have said, but that's their prerogative. You know, when I was an inspector general in the Air Force, people would come to me and would complain about all kinds of things, but that was their prerogative. You know, you go and investigate them and you reply back, but it's their prerogative, that's their right, and they can do that. Again, some of the stuff they've said is not exactly right, but that's their prerogative. And then finally, we pay a lot of money. We paid quite a bit of money to Page and Associates, and they've done a great job, and they've identified problems that we've had financially in the city, and we've made corrections to those. And last that I looked, we only had 5 items that were left. We corrected all the rest. And they do forensic audits, and they haven't found anything that needed a forensic audit in our city. So I trust, and no offense to you, Bob, but a bunch of CPAs that have looked at our books and have come here, I think three times so far, 3 or 4 times, and they only say that we have 5 errors, and we're correcting those. I trust them, and I've asked them, do you think we need to have a forensic audit? And they said, no, your books are good, you're doing a great job. So I think that rather than releasing any RFPs, I would be more into us getting together and doing some zero-based budgeting and coming up with a budget like that for the city. I think that would be the best thing for us.
Anyone on council have anything to say?
Yes. You know, when I talked to Page and Associates, they were very emphatic in saying that they only look at what we give them. And we didn't give them everything according to them. So to say that they did a thorough audit, they did, of the things we gave them. But what about the things that we didn't give them?
And Councilman Paris, they can see if they see irregularities, like if you have something overstated, something understated, and they see a lot of that, then that would be triggers for them to initiate a forensic audit, and they didn't see those things.
Before we open it up, I'd like to say a couple of things too. If anything, we should be excited and welcome the opportunity to take a good hard look at our city. And I'll tell you why. Not only are the financial audit and the organizational assessments needed, they're overdue. And I realize that both will be costly, but we cannot do these things in-house because, to be frank, some people aren't going to like this very much. There are too many personal relationships that exist and long histories of issues that institutionalized problems in our city would be overlooked. It's been my experience during my terms on council that far too many decisions are in assessments about issues and employees and electeds has been based on subjective likes or dislikes. Important assessments and decisions need to be based on objective facts. And if we can't, since 2016, there have been way too many private party influences on the perceptions of our city. Employees and some council members, and if we want our city to succeed, we need to be willing to take a good hard look. And if we truly want crime reduced, we want a more appealing and attractive city, we want more jobs, producing businesses and industries. We want a safe community, with prevention in our fire departments. And we need to be willing to look at our organizations and our finances. But most importantly, we need to accept what we find. Be willing to make the difficult decisions and have the courage to make the commitments objectively to make our city be the best it can be for our citizens and taxpayers. The current path has led us down a road to insanity. We should have enough self-esteem, in my opinion, to be telling our citizens what we would what we're going to do if the tax when the tax passes on July 31st, not how miserable we're all going to be if it doesn't. Many are miserable already, and they have been for a long time. So the importance of these two needs, these are needs, can't be overstressed. It's time to invest in ourselves, to make our city the best it can be, and despite the fits and starts we've been through and the Band-Aids we've placed on wounds that need stitches, I say we need to do this. And it's going to be tough. But if we're going to take California City to the next level, and let's just talk about cannabis, any business and industry, any way to get off the taxes, we have to take a good look in the mirror. And we have to look at all of our departments and be willing to do this objectively, not subjectively. Those are my 2 cents. If anybody else has anything to say up here, fine. If not, I'd like to hear from you.
I applaud you, Madam Mayor. Actually, I was going to write an article in the paper about that, because we are inefficient in a lot of places. You know, we need to be a business. We not need to be a clique. We're a city, and we need to run like a business and like a city and be professional. And I totally agree with you. You know, we're already miserable. We don't need to be miserable anymore. That's why I support this. There's certain people that want to punish this city. You know what? That's not right. Those people should give what this city needs so we can get on our feet and go ahead and be a successful city like Ridgecrest, Wasco, you know, small little cities like that. And I have to say, you know, I applaud you. Thank you, ma'am.
Zero-based budgeting would allow us to do that, because what you would do is you would have to justify every single position.
I understand.
So.
And I agree with zero-based budgeting, but we have to look at the whole system of our city. Are we doing things that would make sense, the way we should be doing it in the 21st century? We've been doing things the same way for 27, 28 years that I've lived here. I haven't seen much of a change. And it's critical that all of us, me included, we all have the courage to say, you know, it's time to rip that Band-Aid off because we need stitches. And how do we get there? How do you get off taxes, supplemental taxes? You fix the systematic concerns of your city. We can't do it inside. You need somebody to come in here objectively to really take a good hard look. And when they come in objectively, you're going to remove a lot of the personal stuff. It's going to go by the wayside. And also, all of these accusations that are happening, unfounded, malicious, reoccurring, hurtful things that people are doing to each other in this community, that needs to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if we know, for once and for all, if somebody says, where's that $20 million you lost? Well, there's no $20 million lost, and we'll find that out. How about that? And we'll also find out if
as long as they don't say it in that voice.
Well, I would use a better one, but this is the only one I have right now. And then we'll also look at the structure of our organizations. You know, we throw out numbers. You've thrown out numbers, 40 police officers, this, that. We need to right-size what our services are, and then we'll know how to manage those things. And I thank you, actually, Bob, for bringing this to us, because I think that we have to be able to do this. Soapbox moment over. Yes, sir.
Rick Warren. Actually, I'm here because of that meeting. That is something that you would have got that tax passed back in June of last year with some kind of proposal in this direction. Either zero-based management. The main part is to show what you're doing with the money and why we need it. That's the important part. I mean, writing a blank check to hope that everything's covered without no plans, no futures. We should have been planning for this years ago. Our previous city manager didn't really care about future thing, knowing that things would just keep going on. I was on the council, and I'll tell you what, Tom Will was not good at managing money. But this man here actually has a good plan. I do recommend going to the state or somewhere else, not just a company to do it, someone that actually does this type of auditing. You know, we've already wasted $80,000 in elections. Whatever this cost is still a lot cheaper than all these elections that we've done. This here is the part that helps me sway my decision. What you are doing with our money. It's our money. Everybody in this room, everybody that lives in Cal City. Remember also, something that is on the ballot coming up, Kern County might raise a penny tax, might be 8 1/4 for sheriffs and all that, and we won't be getting any of that. We'll be paying the tax, but it won't be coming to California City. So we need to take care of California City. This is a good plan. This is the starting part. This is what can change no voters to yes voters, is showing that the city is serious about what you're going to give us and what your plans are and how we're going to look at all those nickels and dimes instead of just ignoring them and saying the same old is fine. We have well-entrusted people in this room and knowledgeable. I mean, the police chief will be at your house if someone breaks in. I know. I've seen him on the road. He doesn't sit in the office. The fire chief I haven't got to know too good, but I know that he's well experienced. Craig has gotten some good ideas and got stuff done in the city. You still got to watch him because he's Craig. Financial guy, I don't know him. He's interim. We've actually had a few that were good and a couple that talked a lot and didn't do nothing and actually tried to get and realized that his knowledge was very slim. And the city manager, I got to applaud him for taking on this task. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else have any comments?
Just 1 second. I think it would be a great idea. I would hope that people would look at that and say, yep, we're going to finally decide how this thing's going to be run, and it's going to be public. We're going to have an organizational chart besides the one that was created in 1965 when I was here. Still the same way. We do need to redo it. We do need to take a look at it. Zero-based budgeting would give us the answers as to what each department's doing and why they're doing it and how much it costs. But I will say this, Mr. Stump, most people would look at it as self-serving rather than an outside organization coming in. I don't think we need the state controller. He wouldn't come anyway. Let me talk to you on that one. But he wouldn't send someone for a forensic audit unless somebody could prove in some way, even a small amount, that there was misappropriation or stealing of funds. It's not there, folks. The auditing firm that just did the audit, very reputable. If they had any suspicion whatsoever that there was even an nth of misrepresentation in the money or misappropriation of the money, they would have told us to have a forensic audit. That was one of the reasons I supported them when Dr. O'Loughlin brought them here. I know them. I've done business with them. I know other people who have done business with them. They have an impeccable reputation. So, yes, thank you, Mr. Stockwell. And again, this man has impeccable credentials. I am so glad he's here. Yeah, I'm not sure just what God had to do to get him here, but it's okay. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad your lovely wife is here, and thank you for putting this on the table. Good night.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to say that I really feel that Rick Warren was right on target with what he said, and he made it very clear. I would like to encourage anyone who hasn't seen and read Mr. Stockwell's 3-page commentary that he made. Anyone can see it. It's attached to the agenda for today. And frankly, research clearly has shown for a long time that if we only hear something, within 24 hours, 80% of it's gone. But if we'll use another sense, in this case of reading what the man has put together, I think it'd be really helpful. I'd also like to say that of all the things that I have looked at in the 2 years that I've been here, his document is the most cogent, concise, clear document I've seen. He lays it all out for us. I'd also like to say that he uses two metaphors, 2 word pictures that even after you've read all this, if you don't remember anything else, remember that he talks about that we've plowed a rut. And I think, Mayor, you said that in your own way. I think also Mrs. Efford has said that. We have plowed a rut. And I think his other metaphor is that we need to have a clear roadmap. He's showing us this clear roadmap. And I would very much encourage everybody to take a look at this document. The last thing I want to say is that he pointed out, Mr. Stockwell pointed out, that number 9, if you remember, under the first page, you can all check it out, starts on the second page. Number 9, the consistent theme, Mayor, you pointed this out, from most of the critics is a lack of trust in efficiency in city operations and distrust in the financial information of the city. I want to tell you that salespeople are taught this and other people use it, that if you continue to say the same thing repetitively and repetitively, people who do not research for the facts are going to believe it. And Mr. Stockwell, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ilona. Okay.
I would just like to say I'm all for this. I'm Keith Middleton, the city treasurer. But I also want to point out that the urgency of this tax passing on 31st, what Mr. Stockwell is proposing is an after-the-fact thing. We still need to pass this tax. That's all I have, ma'am.
Thank you. Poor Al. Just move up a row every time. Get a little closer.
Good evening, Mary Wadey speaking. I do agree with Mr. Stockwell. We need to have a deep look into our finances and organizational structure. Out of 25 years of being here, there's something wrong because we are slowly not doing what we should be doing. I think we should have a state controller to come in, someone from the outside to come in and truly do this, or assist with the city manager and financial to do this because we need it, because I'm one of those people that we need this, in order to convince me to vote yes on Measure C, because it's 25 years and I see nothing improving in California City. I agree with Mr. Paris in regards to the company that came in, Page and Associates. There are things that they did point out, but the community never got an opportunity to hear some things that they had to say because the Cal City's media equipment suddenly stopped working. Also, additionally, with the proper staffing, I'm not sure if Mr. Stockwell was aware, and I'm probably pretty sure the City Council wasn't aware, but we do have issues within the California City's employment. I've heard some things within this building, the staffing of individuals in this building, and we definitely need to do something about the minority percentage of those who are working here in the city as permanent employees. Here recently, there was a young lady that was working here. I was glad to see her there, African American. But it disturbed me to understand that she was being bullied and harassed by another employee here in this building. She quit. Now, everyone can say what they want to say and say there's no discrimination, there's none of that going on in this city, but now this is the third African American put in a position of having to either leave or be removed. And a lot of the things that are being said that were said, the reason why is not making any sense. So we do need to have a deep look into this. And I think Mr. Stockwell is correct. Organizational, financial, all the way through. It needs to be fixed. Because 25 years I've been here, you hardly see any blacks working in this city as employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Al's going to get to go. Thank you, Karen. Because Karen was going out for the race. I saw that. Okay, good, good.
Good evening, Al Hudson. Madam Mayor, you have been articulating what J.M. Powers and I have been saying all along about an audit of the city. It plain and simply cannot be a paid audit. The reason is because they only look at what is handed to them, what they're asked to audit. They don't look into every nook and cranny. They don't do a performance and financial audit unless they are directed to. They have to be directed to do each and everything. A couple of classic examples is the previous auditor that the city had before Page. They did not find $1 million that was stolen from the city. They were sued, and they successfully defended with the defense of, well, you didn't ask us to do it, so we didn't do it. Too bad. The second example is the city of Bell. They got clean audits, but yet there were a bunch of inefficient crooks. I'm not implying that there's crooks or anything else here in the city. However, the state controller is the most experienced entity and auditors to do this type of audit that we're talking about, and they should be contracted to do it. One of the main reasons, one of the distinctions between a paid auditor and the state controller is that the city or any entity is not answerable. They do not have to answer to the findings of the hired auditor, whereas with the state controller's office, they do have to respond to the state controller auditor's findings and recommendations. What I would like to do is, if we're going to have to do the private auditor, is send each one of you and the city manager a copy of an audit done by the state controller to be used as a template to follow. And hopefully we might get it right. On the zero-based budgeting, again, J.M. Powers and I have been advocating for this for quite some time, and it had fallen on deaf ears all of this time. Councilman Stump, yes, you have been for.
Thank you, Al.
To be an articulate advocate.
Okay, Al, just so you're clear, if you don't mind, Mr. Stockwell, I'll read on the financial side what you're recommending. It's a 3-year comprehensive financial audit to cover all aspects of the city's finances. The purpose of this audit would be, 1, to examine a broad base of issues ranging from the proper structure of the city's chart of accounts, internal controls, compliance with all state and federal accounting procedures, 2, tracking of fund balances, 3, cash management and reporting, 4, applying current best practices in municipal accounting and reporting, and 5, making recommendations on areas of serious concern, including with a menu of steps that should be taken and the cost effectiveness of implementing such plans. The auditors would be required to engage all city employees who have a direct or indirect involvement in the city's finances, and should it be deemed necessary, the auditors would be required to ensure confidentiality when gathering information and interviewing employees. And the goal of this audit would be to put to rest the litany of complaints about the perceived financial mismanagement of the city. The auditors would also be required to engage in a 2 to 3 evening workshops to allow input from concerned citizens and perhaps in confidence with J.M. Powers. Armed with this audit, the city would be prepared to set the foundation for finances based upon an independent review of the entire spectrum, and independent, I'd like to say objective, of the entire spectrum of the city's finances combined with the input from the community. And I won't get into the organizational ones, but I can tell you, when we go forth with something like this, the citizens are going to demand, the citizen taxpayers are going to demand that we follow up. So I'm sure there'll be accountability for this.
Mayor,
so that's.
Let me ask you this. Have you personally read a state controller audit of a municipality?
No, I have not.
Thank you.
Time.
Thank you. Your time is expired.
Just the one thing to let you know, to have a state controller audit come in to do it, the legislators up in Sacramento have to approve it. The city can't just go up there and say, come over here. They have to, there is a ton of hoops that have to be jumped through before the legislatures will authorize them to come down.
Okay.
And that came from Assemblyman Tom Lackey.
Okay, I think that they are mistaken.
Sir,
I'm
thank you, but I understand.
That came
but we're
from
getting into
Assemblyman Lackey.
Okay, now there's I think it was Lebec or one other city right here in Kern County that the state controller came in through their personal invitation to review.
I'm just telling you what
he's
Tom
just provided,
Lackey related to it.
Thank you, sir. He's just provided you with the
all
facts as he knows it right from our assemblyman.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Yes, ma'am.
Karen Macedonio. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to pull out off.
You could have.
I want to urge that we take the Band-Aids off and we look at the wounds, that we follow the city manager's recommendation. He's asking for you to direct him to put out an RFP. We don't know what will happen until that goes out. But as the citizens of this city, so many of us want unity. And when we bring in an independent, outside, objective auditor to look at these things and to have evening meetings and to have stakeholder groups within the city, we can start building trust because we can ask the hard questions. It may be beautiful, it may be ugly, it may be someplace in between. But this is our opportunity to stop the free fall, find out where we are, and move forward. So I really, really hope that you will vote to support the city manager's proposal.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Anyone else from the public before it comes back up here? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, Council, Ron Smith. We've heard the word objective a lot tonight, and objectivity is vitally important. I don't think we have to wait until decision on the special tax. Zero-based budgeting should have occurred a long time ago. It should have been a long time ago. We should have been looking essential personnel first. Mr. Stockwell, what he has done in the past is he has done organizational assessment. That's something that he has done himself. But we have had a cry from a number of citizens. Statements have made, such as the grand jury report in the 3 phases, that some 40 employees have been spoken with. Not everything has been lies. That's a good amount of employees, according to them, that they've spoken with. A litany of issues were brought up. They can't possibly all be lying. And for the state controller, I don't think there's going to be anything that people that distrust, and there are many that distrust what's going on, are going to put any type of value upon an audit unless it's a state controller doing that. And whatever Mr. Lackey has to say, there are other examples of them coming into a city. But if we have to jump through hoops and jump through hoops, if you're going to do this, it's pretty hard to be objective if somebody's hiring you and you're going to evaluate them and you're going to recommend them to other cities or not. I know in my line of work, you can bring in a firm that will evaluate your church, and then they will give you a report on what they think should be done, so on and so forth. But if you're paying them, they're going to tell you basically what you want to hear because they want you to recommend them to the next church. So if they tell you, well, you know, the person that needs to leave here need to have a new pastor here, they need to leave, that's the problem. Well, if that was the case, these businesses would not be, they would not continue on because they would not get good recommendations. So to be objective, the state controller, has been bandied around. Mr. Hudson has championed this for, I would guess, about 6 years. Statements being made that we're making evaluations not according to facts. Let's face it, in the last 2 years, we that have been here, city council meetings, we have heard things change. We have heard statements made, and they've changed, and they've changed, and they've changed, and they've changed, and they've changed. So it's not based upon lack of fact. It's based upon fact. To be addressed, the material weaknesses need to be addressed that were stated by the grand jury. And I would suggest if you're going to do this, only a state controller is going to make people happy, or it's going to be a waste of money if you just go out and hire someone. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You know, everyone has their opinion, and, you know, everyone's going to look at things differently. That's the beauty of, you know, a free society. I think when you hire the right people to do the job that are not personally invested in the community, you're going to get objectivity. And they're not going to tell us what we want to hear. They're going to tell us what we need to know, is what I would see, is what we need to know about our community that maybe we're so close to it you don't get to see it. And as far as recommendations to somebody else, sure, that could be with any company. But, you know, I've read the grand jury reports myself and understand, too, as you clearly do, that I've sat here for almost 6 years. So I've lived it. And I know what the truths are, and I know what the accusations are, too. And I know what of those accusations, as an example, not to get too far off the reservation, is not true. So let's just keep those things in mind. We need objective people looking at us that aren't invested in our community. Because we'll look over things because you know, well, that's just a subjective thing. Maybe we can do it a different way. This is a hard look at our city, I think, is what we're looking at. That's my opinion. Thank you, sir. Anyone else have any comments?
Good evening, Mayor Wood, Council. Earlier tonight, I'm DJ Tuig representing mycalcity.org. Earlier tonight, there was a comment made about volunteerism in the city. I just want to publicly acknowledge your council for all your work, mostly volunteerism. I think that the staff that administrates the city has had a lot of challenges the last couple of years. Right now, we're at an apex. This is a critical distinction today in California City. Will we make choices that will result in a better city down the line? We're at a crossroads. Gaining the confidence of the taxpayers and voters tonight is the objective. This recommendation, I pray, is not too little, too late, but rather is, in fact, a significant opportunity, an opportunity for the city to do the right thing, to give an opportunity for voters and taxpayers to recognize we're not going backwards. We're going to move forward. We're not going to repeat the same mistakes. If there are findings, material weaknesses, we're going to eliminate those weaknesses, eliminate those inefficiencies, and improve our administration in California City. There's a statement in Mr. Stockwell's staff report where he says this is a singular opportunity. Couldn't underscore that enough. It's tonight. The vote is looming close. We want to put our economic prosperity, our public safety sustainability in the win column. Let's put this in the win column tonight. There are consequences for actions. Let's make the consequence be that we chart a new course for the citizens of California City. When the RFP is written, we'd like to have the opportunity to take a look at that through Kern Tax and other taxpayer organizations just to make sure that we can acknowledge the process is the best process, the most objective process for the taxpayer. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You know, and just another thought came up when you were talking about that. You know, we talk about Crossroads. In November, you're going to have a whole new council, or you're going to have a new council here. There's some faces here that are not going to be here anymore. And one thing that you want to give them is the opportunity to succeed in that council and the council after that, to have a good foundation to move forward. Just my thought. Anyone else from the public have anything to say? And if not, I'll come back up here for discussion, and then if necessary, we'll do a second call based on what happens here. Gentlemen, do you have any other comments? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Mr. Stockwell, you're asking for us to extend the current 2-month budget for 3 additional months. We have not received May's financials, which hopefully will be soon. We were supposed to get them tonight. June's financials are due in 5 days, and the year-end closeout is also due. We pay the finance director $115 an hour, and the budget analyst just received a 15% increase to step 1 finance director, and yet we have nothing to review. Could you explain to the council what the new finance director has done since he's been here? That's one question. We've allowed you 2 months of the existing budget, even though it appears to be extremely top-heavy and full of errors. I can't see why we would give you another 3 months without you bringing back at least a budget without errors to some degree. You want us to lift the hiring freeze and fill most of the non-essential entry-level positions that are already vacant. Yet you only want to selectively fill the positions of police officers that have resigned or retired to acting positions only. The whole purpose of passing Measure C is to increase public safety, not to selectively fill positions to acting only or to fill non-essential positions. You know, I've read Mr. Tuig's emails to us, and after his comments to me 2 weeks ago, I was deeply concerned. I never thought I would agree with him, but I believe it's time for a state audit to come in and do the 3 years confidential financial audit. We need the audit, that's no question. If we're going to pay the money, why not bring the state in to do it? I believe that's what our citizens have asked us to do. So my concern is, and you've heard it over and over again, Measure C's for public safety. Why would you want to only selectively fill these positions and yet fill all the non-essential positions? I don't understand that. I agree with your audit. I feel we should do it, but I feel we should have the state to come in and do it. And but I also believe that we need to fill our public safety positions, our police officers, We have 2 sergeants retiring. We don't need to put acting positions. We need to fill those positions. Non-essential personnel are last, public safety is first. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Stockwell.
Well, let me clarify what my intention was. If I've stated it incorrectly, I apologize, is that we fill all vacant police fire positions. That the process of whether or not to promote someone to administrative positions be reserved on an acting basis until we see what the comprehensive analysis of the organization tells us we should be doing, so we're not putting people into positions that might not exist after we do the analysis, or tying ourselves to an organization before we know whether that's the correct organization. And so what would happen in my mind is that as quickly as we could fill all of the vacant police and fire positions, not selectively, every single vacant position, 1, through hiring new people, 2, through making some temporary appointments in the managerial levels while we go through the analysis, so that we fill those essential police and fire vacancies, which have preceded this vote, and that we've had to endure now for the past 6 months of my knowledge that we've had to deal with it. So I'm not in any way suggesting that we not put the emphasis on police, but that we make sure that before we start promoting people, we make sure that the promotions are into positions that truly make sense for the organization. So that's the only caveat in that. But I wholeheartedly, as citizens, say yes, let's get some folks hired to police and fire as quickly as we can get it done. As far as, being accountable for what's happening in the finance department, that's it's a subjective analysis. We have people standing on the outside pointing fingers and making complaints and going and talking to council members who aren't willing to come and talk to me face to face. So I don't know how to respond to them. If they want to talk to me, want to know what's going on, I'm happy to talk to them. I think I've given a track record of saying I'm willing to listen to people. When I hear something that makes sense, I make changes. When I'm wrong, I correct it. And so if people will come to me, I can certainly explain those things. We have, if I had gone out and recruited for a new finance director, I would be criticized because I was hiring a finance director before we knew what money we really had to spend. And so we've gone through a process of trying to in-house take care of those things. When the accountant decided to go to Ventura, something had to be done on a temporary basis, and I'm confident that what we're doing will get us where we need to go. But again, to be able to respond to specific things, to explain to you how this gentleman does his work day to day, not prepared to do that.
Again, all we're asking is for the financials. And 2 weeks ago, we were told they would be here, and they're not.
Well,
So-
2 weeks ago, we had an accountant.
No, he was gone. I'm sorry. But that's water under the bridge. All I want to see is if we're going to have financials, let's have them. We're at year's end. Let's not say we're going to do something and then not produce them.
One thing that upsets me is, again, wasting money. One of the things you're talking about going through and looking at the correct sizing and correct personnel in each department. Zero-based budgeting would do that for you. And so I repeat that. I'm beating that drum over and over, and I guess it's maybe in the wrong language. So maybe I need to speak another language. I don't know. Farsi, I don't know. Maybe Mr. Borna can help me, or the finance director can help me. But what we need to do is we need to do zero-based budgeting. That will tell you exactly how many people you need. You wouldn't have to do, that would tell you exactly, because you would have to justify each position that you come up with. So that would tell you the correct size of your city and everything else. So I've beat that drum a lot. All of us up here thought that Page and Associates were good, and we voted to have them come and audit our city. So I didn't hear anybody then say that they weren't doing a good job, and they've really helped our city. Instead of now, if the state will come in for free or very low price, I am for that. But if the state doesn't come in, we could hire Page and Associates to do everything that you're talking about doing. We could hire them to do that. Otherwise, what are we doing wasting money on hiring Page and Associates? And again, I thought the job that they did was great. They had their budgets available. All the citizens of the city could read those. A couple of things going on in the finance department. We have an elected official, Mr. Middleton right there, and he is our city treasurer. Yet, as a city treasurer in the past, they've always signed checks. Are you signing checks now? So we're not using him in the capacity that he was elected for. He's an elected official, and he's not being able to do his job. And then, again, I don't agree with what the citizens said in the grand jury report. Some of the things, I mean, not all of the things. And some of them were, you know, against a lot of us here. But that is their opinion. Their opinion is their reality. And in their minds, what they said is their reality. And so we can't just dismiss them. We should answer them respectfully. But what they said, the things that they don't like about the city, are things in their reality. What I suggested earlier is to do a climate, well, one thing we should do is a zero-based budget, get that done, and then do a climate assessment of the city workers of the city. Because, again, if this were a military organization, you would do that. And a climate assessment is a very good tool for city manager or anybody else to look at how their organization is run.
Mr. Middleton, are you appointed or are you elected? Elected, thank you.
Okay, the question that I have with regard to your being able to sign or not, is that was that part of an internal control issue? Is that the reason why?
I think there was a thing put in the municipal code that says that the treasurer was not allowed to sign checks.
Okay, we can get to the bottom of it because you know, here again.
That's been there a long time.
Okay, here again, you know, we've got situations where it's more subjective rather than objective in the determination. And while, yes, Keith was signing checks for a period of time, maybe it was just something as simple as following what's within our code. And it may be because, you know, I'm just spitballing here. I don't know the answer, Keith, but, you know, you go to the bank, you do the, you know, I mean, it's internal controls that we all have. Everybody trusts you. That's not the issue, but there may be internal control issues which cause that to be placed in there in the first place. I don't know. I wasn't here when all that stuff was written, and he wasn't either.
I'd just like to comment that there are a tremendous number of internal controls as I see it. One, I don't have access to Cassell. I don't have access to any of the programs that cut checks, and I don't have access to checks. Those are the three things that somebody wanting to defraud the city would have to have some type of access to. All I did was sign checks.
I understand that, but there may be a reason for that that was ignored.
Yeah, but
it's not a personal assault on you.
I realize that, but this city is gone, in my opinion, overboard to make sure that fraud.
Madam Mayor, this is not on NB1.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has nothing to do
But
with
you know what?
NB1.
We get off the reservation quite a bit. I'm sure. We're trying to make sure we're back on the reservation. All right, so council members, we're up here. Your comments, and if I have to open it up because of the wonderful second call for 2 minutes.
No comment.
Okay, anyone?
When I read the new business one, I said, wow. I said, it's impressive. I said, I think we're going to have a lot of happy people. But it seems to me now that there's nothing that's going to make everybody happy. I mean, it's ridiculous, the stuff. Doesn't matter what their city manager does. Everyone's over there nitpicking at every little thing. I generally stay out of his hair because he's very experienced. I've had few and brief conversations with him, and I have the right conversations with him. I ask him the right questions, and this is why I have faith and I trust in what he's doing. Again, as I said before, he's come into a very difficult situation, and he hasn't been here that long. He's going to get to things. This came sooner than I expected, and so I'm happy to see it. But I'm also seeing that doesn't matter what you do. But please continue doing what you're doing. We're going to get there.
Any more council before I have to, everybody have second call, 2 minutes. If you have any secondary comments. We got one that says no. We got another coming.
It's Keith Middleton, City Treasurer. I'd just like to mention that I've been here for 3.5 years. In that 3.5 years, when I got here, we had one finance director trying to do the work of 4 that should have been on the payrolls. That one managed to get one more person hired, who's now since left. And then we have a new finance director. She had herself and one person. We still should have had 4. Now we had a third person hired, and one leave, finance director leave. We still have 2 people doing the work of 4. And then you throw on audits, you throw on requirements that single base, what you've asked for. Who are you going to get to do that and still provide the reports that all of you and myself require? It takes manpower. This city is not hiring people and hasn't for years. When we should have had 3 people, when I took this job 3.5 years ago, we had 1. And he had a hard time getting a second person employed. And you can't just keep adding on work. There just isn't the people to do it, and nobody will hire the people to do it. You can't create any more audits. You can't create any more analysis. You can't create any more reports because you don't have people to keep up with the ones you already have. And you also have a learning curve. We have a temporary hire here. He knows his job. No 2 cities are alike, no matter what anybody says. He has to learn how the city works, who he's responsible to, what reports everybody requires. He has to answer questions all the time from various people. You can't just, okay, you're hired today, tomorrow you better be on time. Learning curves take a while. And you guys are just expecting too much for the number of people you have, and you won't hire the number you need. And that's my opinion.
Understood, and I agree. That's why you need to have an organizational assessment to find out what the workload is and what the real true needs are.
With somebody that's not part of the city,
exactly. Got it. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, council members, every time when I come up here, I say thank you very much for donating your time to the city. Whatever your decision is, still, you guys are putting plenty hours of work to do this. Madam Mayor, I commend you with the statement you made today. This is something that you were working on for the last 6 years. I know that you were frustrated. You couldn't get the answer from some of the department. And hopefully, with the Councilman Stump's suggestion, I thank you, Councilman Stumps, for your knowledge and integrity and honesty that you bring everything forward. I appreciate it. And I thank you for all those things, because with all this good word that you guys put on, something going to be done. And I thank you again that you guys hired such a wonderful city manager for our city. He's doing a great job, and this is something we haven't heard of for the last 10, 12, 13 years. I've been in this city for about 40 years, so I haven't seen the city managers like that. I thank you so much, Mr. Stockwell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's why I was so encouraged when I saw this, because it takes care of a lot of issues we need to look at. Anyone else?
Anyone that knows me knows that I don't agree with anyone all the time. I was concerned, Mr. Paris, with the word that you used about essential personnel and non-essential personnel. Anybody that knows me also knows that I'm completely pro-quality, honest police department. But Mr. Middleton, I think, totally told us the truth and encapsulated it. How can we say to our city manager and the finance department, you were supposed to give us this, you were supposed to give us that, when they don't have enough people to do it? That's my comment. And I'm going to head home now because it's my anniversary and my husband didn't want to come here and enjoy it with me, so I'm going home.
Happy anniversary to you and George. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else before we come up here for a vote? Because that's what's going to happen next. Yes, congrats. Okay, moving back up here then. Oh, okay, Al's coming.
Okay. In your vote and discussions, I think that the public's concern and wishes should be strongly considered and adopted. The majority of the public, the state auditor, to be the one that does the complete audit of the city. And I think it's the council's responsibility to honor the public's wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving up here, gentlemen. Let me go to this recommendation. The recommendation as written says, direct the city manager to prepare and issue requests for proposal for 1, a 3-year financial comprehensive audit to cover all aspects of the city's finances, and 2, a comprehensive organizational assessment. It is understood in this recommendation that the audit and assessment would not be awarded unless Measure C is passed on July 31st, 2018. It might not be necessary if that doesn't happen, but the only cost incurred would be staff time in developing the RFPs. So the basic recommendation is the direction to city manager with items 1 and 2. I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware that we weren't just going to go out and start spending money on this.
And I'll make that motion.
Well, there's discussion. I have discussion on this before we do that. My discussion is I would like to see a zero-based budget prior to 4A, before we look at that. And then as far as before we do 4B rather, and then as far as an audit, if we do an audit, I would like us to pursue getting the state to come in if possible. So again, if there's no budget, a precursor of a zero-based budget prior to a comprehensive organizational assessment, I don't like that. And again, so 4A, have the state. And also, 4C I would like to see added, and that would be a climate assessment of the city.
Okay, there is no 4A and 4B or 4C in this. There is only a 1 and a 2 in the recommendation of the motion. We're going by the recommended motion.
Okay. Going by the recommended motion, I would like to see for 1, I would like to see a state auditor to come in if possible. And 2, I would like to see a zero-based budget prior to doing a comprehensive organizational assessment.
Okay, if you're going to go with that, I just need to ask you a question because this is discussion. Who are you going to hire to do this? With the manpower that we have right now, who are you going to hire to do the zero-based budgeting?
We'll hire the same people that we just made last city council meeting. We hired a couple of people to do that. And then what we could do is we could have the city council.
What people did we hire at the last city council meeting? I wasn't here. Illuminate me.
We hired.
You talking about Paige?
No, I'm talking about city employees.
OHV?
No, I think we hired the temporary.
No. I don't think anybody has any recollection. I heard a no, and a what? And a no.
And a what?
Well, the pool workers or something. We did something. I can't remember. Yes.
Yeah.
Lifeguards. And no, I'm not saying
Brenda,
lifeguards.
we're going to need your lifeguards to come up here and do the eval on this.
If you think that this is funny, what I'm talking about is hiring temporarily until 31 July, hiring more people in the finance department. That's what I'm talking about.
I can't support that. But, we've got a motion so far by Councilman McGuire. Comments, Council?
You made a motion, Councilman?
Yes, I did, to approve.
Okay, I'll second that.
Any other comments? I'm sorry. Let me put my mic on. Any other comments? All right, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Pierce?
No.
Stump?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very
Motion
much.
carried.
Let's move on to new business 2. That is the public works staffing. Mr. Platt, please.
No.
No.
It's a basic. It's
It's an RFP. You're going for an RFP. And it does say, sorry, Mr. Platt, it does say exactly that the only monies that would be expended would be the staff time to developing the RFP, and we already pay for that. Am I correct, sir?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Platt, please.
I don't know if I want to talk.
Please do.
Council, Mayor, Council, and public. We have lost numerous employees within mostly the Water Street Department. We have also taken on additional duties with the Senior Center and have actually gone down in a number of employees, and I believe we're like, at this point, 5 or 6 short. We lost this last employee, and I'll respond basically what has happened to the water. We've started that project numerous times, and actually service to customers actually takes a precedence over the dog park, and that project just keeps getting pushed backwards due to lack of personnel. So serving people who actually are paying water customers is a little more important, in my opinion, than the dog park. So saying that, what I'm asking for is during the freeze to temporarily hire one of the full-time employees back or start advertising. And as you guys should know, this process, just to advertise and hire, can take several months. But try to get a water department staff member back in the department and hire 2 part-time, full-time, part-time, temporary employees that, depending on what transpires over the next month, could be also then used to fill other positions that we're leaving vacant at this point in time. Or if things go bad the other way, then those obviously employees would also be up for elimination. The budget's there. We would use basically within the water fund 5115. These are all the positions are full-time and budgeted, but requesting only 1 actual permanent full-timer at this time, and the 2 part-time, full-time temporaries.
Okay. Council, have any questions?
Go ahead. Last council meeting, we talked about the 3 people that worked at the Par 3 moving over to Tierra del Sol.
So the golf course is open 8 days a week. Those are strictly office, 7 days a week. They work within the office, so they're part of the Par 3. They don't do field because all of the grounds were actually maintained by DACY. And so what we did was, in conversation with Brenda, we shut down the operations there because that was non-playable, because it hadn't been maintained.
Understand.
We focused on Tierra del Sol. So
yes, but those 3 people that were at the Par 3, what are they doing now?
they're working in the office, managing the office, the same thing they were doing at the Par 3.
Basically the pro shop is what
Yes.
they're doing. The same stuff they did there, they're doing.
Well, they're opening, filing people in and out, taking payments. They're doing the office
They're
work.
doing admin.
Just to really clarify that too, is we went from for the Par 3, we were open in the morning, and then we closed in the heat of the day because we're a walking course, and then we opened again in the evening. So I only had 2 or 3 part-timers over there. Now I have put my assistant over there because there's no way I can cover those hours on the budget and the manpower I have. So now I'm without an assistant until we figure this out on the tax and everything. So that's how we're actually getting by, is I don't have an assistant now. That person is now there 40 hours a week.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Councilman, or before I open it up?
it's my understanding that your general service worker for the water division is handled under the enterprise fund anyway, correct? He's paid by the enterprise fund.
Yes.
5115 is an enterprise fund. And we've got plenty of money, so I have no objection for hiring that worker. The other two workers are coming out of the general fund, correct?
They would be coming out of facilities, yes.
Okay. And how many people have you lost in facilities since we put a freeze on?
The same employees are there. There's 2 of the seniors and 3 general service workers.
So you've lost none from
Have not.
freeze was on?
Have not lost none
Okay.
there.
So you're saying it's going to take a while to hire them anyway. We have 21 days until we vote on Measure C. Do you foresee bringing those people on before the 21 days?
Very slim.
Okay. That's
We have applications because people turn in apps all the time, but that would have to go through the background, the hiring process, the interviews.
Right.
So it's
so
gonna
my
take
only
time.
concern is hiring these guys and then, God forbid, Measure C doesn't pass and we lose them almost immediately upon hiring them. But if it looks like it's, you know, again, we've got to maintain the Tierra del Sol somehow, some way. So my only concern is, Mr. Stockwell, we have the money for those workers?
Yes, we do.
And just so you know, my thought and process of we have roughly 5 open positions in Public Works is not to go any farther than what we are until we see what transpires. So those, then we would, that's why I put 2 months on there. Then I would bring those back if we're able to shift those. If whatever happens, we could actually still have positions available for them that we're holding vacant right now.
So do we have any
That are not
vacant,
part of the general fund.
vacant positions that are being paid by the enterprise fund?
Yes.
You know, because again, we have the money and a large amount of money, I believe, to cover those people. So I would have no objection at all to hiring people that are being paid by the enterprise fund. And as Mr. Stockwell says, we have the money for the 2 general services, then I don't have an objection.
Okay,
thank you.
I guess the question I was had, do we want to take enterprise fund people and put them in these positions working on the golf course?
No.
No.
That's my concern.
No, that's not what would happen at all. If we were able to hire the temporaries, they will be funded out of the facilities budget.
No, I get that. But if you're saying to hire them paying for these guys out of the enterprise fund, okay,
No.
good. Just want to make sure. Make sure. Thank you.
Craig, and so these are 2 part-time that if the tax passes will eventually become full-time.
They would, if it passes, they could, I will bring them back and we'll create full-time positions. If it fails, then I'll bring them back. And obviously, if they're good employees, and I say that, good employees, they would have the opportunity to transfer to other current departments that are not funded by the general tax that we're holding open at this point in time.
Okay, thank
But
you.
they're going to be hired to work at Tierra del Sol, right?
2 of them, yes.
Yeah, so those 2 temporary full-time workers, if it's going to take 3 weeks or more than 21 days, and what is the possibility that we hire them prior to 21 days?
Because of the background and everything else, slim.
Okay, so why don't we just say that if the
Here's why, because I'm still 5 down. We are sinking in streets and water because we have let that many lapse in personnel.
Understand.
Those are not funded.
Yeah, we got to get. But we're funded. We have police positions that are funded, and we're not filling them.
So,
but I want
Craig's general service workers. In the last 30 days, we've needed severe work at the police station. We're coming up very hot. We got air conditioning units that need to be serviced. Over the last weekend, one of our units failed. which caused our phone system to go down. So we're going to be using, we use a lot of Craig's workers to keep critical services.
But Chief, how many funded positions are you down right now?
About 11. I just spoke with the city manager this morning, and next council meeting I'm bringing a proposal for council to address some of those vacancies that just came up over the weekend. We had some of our service members, reservists, at the last minute get recalled. So we're going to be bringing that before council.
Madam Mayor, let's stay on topic. We're talking about.
Let's go back here.
No, I'm done with. I only had one question.
Yeah, thank you. This is about public works staffing. All right. Anyone else up here before I ask questions? Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, Council, 11 positions down in the police department. There's a flyer being passed around that we're not going to have a police officer on after midnight. My son was just here 2 days before the golf course shut down with Mr. Dacey running it. Mr. Dacey sold him the golf balls, sold me a soda, directed him to his cart. Mayor Pro Tem Gomez has not worked government work. Government does not do things more efficiently. And to have 3 people doing what 1 person did is pretty preposterous. If we're 11 officers short, we should not even be having this discussion about hiring any non-essential personnel. There was no plan, obviously, for the golf course. By the way, for 6 years, there have been citizens asking, what is the plan? And the plan is we're going to go and pay off Mr. Dacey $150,000, and we're going to hire 3 new people while there's a flyer being passed around that there'll be no firefighters on the engine and that there'll be no police officers on after midnight. It's preposterous to even ponder. By the way, the citizens have been very well behaved tonight, and I think for you that mocked Councilman Stump, I think he ought to go back and look at California city meetings. By the way, you talk about volunteerism. California city meetings need to be thanked publicly for what they do. But for mocking one of our elected officials, it's pretty preposterous. And it's pretty shameful. And you that did that owe him a public apology. But to even bring up non-essential positions right now, I mean, are you trying to tank the special tax? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mary Waddy speaking. I agree with Pastor Sparks. Excuse me. There's a couple of y'all. Sorry. Pastor Smith. I agree with him because it doesn't make any sense. And this is one of the things that the community, and myself, talk about. You tell the people that we don't have the money in the general fund to support police and fire. You turn around and want to hire people, full-time, part-time, I want to understand that one, and use general fund to do it with. You're saying that there may not be a chance of anyone being hired before 21 days before the election, but that's no guarantee. I don't think this needs to be voted upon until after the Measure C. That way we won't take any chances with the money that we have here. If you really need those people, you can find a way to pull that money or hire them under enterprise fund. Since you have plenty of money in that can be done there. If you hire them, whoever you need temporarily, you use people to work different jobs already in the city that was hired for something else. I don't think we need to hire 2 more people, part-time, full-time, whatever that means, because I need clarification on that, and pull the money out of general fund. If you cannot give the police department or fire department a full-time person out of general fund right now, then we don't need to hire any general workers right now and pull that money out of the general fund. So
Mary, I think you
do want
misspoke.
question, but I do want a question about part-time, full-time, or full-time, part-time, because it's written
And I'm
as
fixing that for you
full-time,
right now. It was
part-time,
full-time temporary. He misspoke. It's two full-time temporary general service workers, not part-time.
Okay, because it's written one way and he's speaking a different way, but we still
And
don't
he
need to hire.
misspoke.
We still don't need to hire those two people, temporary or not at this time, and not take a chance on that, because then the next thing we'll hear, oh, we had to go ahead and hire them the next week. I don't want to hear that. You know, I think we should wait until after the Measure C to see what if the Measure C going to go through. Thank you.
Mayor, could I address?
Please.
I think we're getting really confused here. Every currently authorized position in the police department is fully funded. Fully funded. We're not taking money from the police department for anything. The question you need to be asking yourself is, why do we not have 11 positions in the police department? The answer is, why would you apply to come to work in a city where 2 months after you got hired, the entire budget of the police department gets wiped out? That's why we have 11 vacancies in the police department. No, I'm not talking to you, Mary. I'm saying just in general. We're saying, let's get this thing brought back into perspective. We would hire 11 police officers tomorrow if they applied. The last time we went through recruitment, how many did we hire from that recruitment?
1.
How many applied out of the, just to give them a perspective?
And I think 4?
4. So you got 4 applicants and you got 1.
3? Okay, 3.
3 and 1.
Got 1.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So to clarify for Pastor Smith, not hiring somebody to maintain a golf course until we find out whether we're even going to be able to afford to have a golf course is not coming from not hiring police officers. It's coming from not doing proper maintenance on our facilities, because it's going to come out of the facilities maintenance budget. And if the tax doesn't pass, then it'll be out of that budget permanently, and we will just simply have to get by without that. And so let's get this brought back to reality. This problem in police and fire is the parcel tax expiring on June 30th. These people left us months ago. How many of your guys are already approved for hiring in other places right now?
Speaking with my employees, because they don't know in 21 days what's going to happen. If everyone that has come to me and said, Chief, I'm scared, I'm not going to have a job, I'm looking, if all of them get picked up, I'll be down to 3, myself and 2 others by the end of this month.
Because what we're doing is we're taking the least dramatic steps possible to retain some of the elements of this community that are important until we find out what the taxpayers say. And whether you play golf or not, the golf course is an asset to this community. A tremendous amount of money has been invested in that course, and it could continue to be a gem for our community, properly managed. But right now, we need to get from where we are till then. The answer to your question, if we don't even start recruiting for the temporary people, you can be certain that that it'll be 21 days after the vote before they will be in place, because it takes the same amount of time. So not even going out to see if we could fill them simply puts the actual date of bringing somebody on later on. And if the parcel tax passes, we will have money, but we still won't have 2 people, because we won't even start the process until after we come back to the City Council, which will be in the second Tuesday in August, for you to be able to make your decision.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that, and yours as well on the ratios. Yes, sir.
To be clear, if things go bad, and I hate to think that things are going to go bad, I more would like to think that it's going to go well. As Councilman Stump says, he has faith in the voters. I also have left positions open. We haven't brought them to recruit. If it doesn't go well, there are still positions within the department that are not funded through the general fund that those people, instead of just being bumped, would have abilities to fill.
What I don't see is the one person that's from the enterprise fund, no problems with that. But the other two people, the temporary full-time, what could happen is you could start your process, but not hire them until 1 August. And 1 August would be able to tell us if we have the funding for them, and you said you have other places that you could put them, but not hiring them until after the vote. So it would be 1 August.
We'll be very close to that point anyway. But what I'm asking for is the authorization to start the process, because it is a process. And I do have an open end that I would obviously bring back to you to point those within other approved positions that we have not filled. We are managing the golf course. We're managing the senior complex with exactly the same level of staff that we currently had. It's not adequate. We're having to use also water personnel to manage the golf course's water system. That's taking away from what we should be doing, and those are being charged against those facilities. So we're having to maintain things as they are now, and that has, with the staff level down now, we are struggling to keep up with the existing workloads.
But I think your position is not unique to other directors. We have, the police chief has the same problem, the fire chief has the same problem, finance director has the same problem. So it's nothing unique.
With the exception as no one's going to come into a department to work in police or fire knowing that you may or may not have. It sounds like the same, but it is different. I have to disagree. Any more council comments before we request a motion? Okay. Looking for a motion. The recommendation is below.
Make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Yeah, we had this, yeah, you had the do-over, you had the second call, and then we brought it back up. Yes, we did. You didn't. You're going to tell, Chuck?
Huh?
You remember 2 times people coming up?
Yeah, I made a motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you roll call us on this?
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Paris.
Yes.
Stump.
Yes, I'll go with it.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes.
Motion
Thank you
carried.
very much. All right, moving
Council.
on to the last business of the evening. It's council agenda. Have to go through this. This portion of the meeting is reserved for council members to present information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. The Brown Act precludes council, staff, or public discussion. Short staff responses are appropriate. The council will take no formal action. A council member may request the city clerk to calendar an item for consideration at a future meeting or refer an item to staff. Councilmember Paris.
Yes, ma'am. Again, Mr. Stockwell, the successor agency to contracts that we did the first of the year. I asked last council meeting, but I misquoted and said SDI. I would like to see those 2 properties or the contracts come back before council. We haven't seen them in, what, a year and a half? And we should have an update on where they're at since they were performance contracts for the rights to buy the property.
Okay. Yeah. Councilmember.
Bertels was probably one of them?
No, sir. It was the 29 acres for, I forget the name of the company, and then Meister. The first one was Meister 11 acres, and then the second one was the 29 acres right by the, they're both airport.
Right. Those were successor agency properties that were sold, and there's some conditions in there that they move forward within a certain time frame, or the successor.
Right. They were supposed to have buildings up. We extended their contract to a certain time, but
I don't think they were all done. I don't think all the stuff was done.
Do you remember the other company?
You know, I read it this morning. The owner of the company is Janess. I would have to, I can get back to you with the name. I saw it this morning and didn't write it down, but, you know, it's, they paid the $585,000 here just recently, if you remember that. We'd just like to see where the contracts lie. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stump.
I would like to see zero-based budgeting. I mean, I harp on that, and I guess it's a phrase that I don't know if people understand it or want to do it, but it would be something that would be necessary in us moving forward to this fiscal year that we're in now. It would be something that would make our city more efficient, and it's something that we really need to do.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember McGuire.
No comment.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Gomez. And the same for me. So I'm
Mayor?
looking for a Us, ma'am.
Can I say something real fast?
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry.
please.
I just wanted to let everybody know that we took in about 360 mail-in ballots today. They've all been confirmed by the county except for about 6 for signature issues. Anybody that has one, they don't have to put a stamp on it. If it's a vote by mail, they can drop it off. Like, we can take it. If it's the planning department is open, there's a ballot box there. If there's no one there, then I will have to lock it back up. So they don't have to be mailed back in. If you wish to have yours changed to have it by mail, you can still do that. Well, I haven't even got to that yet.
Oh, carrier
Give her some
pigeon.
time.
Carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon, yes. So anyway, so that will be happening all the way through to the 24th, where I can send out people mail ballots. Also, just to let you know, if you want to vote the day of the election and you are not registered, please come here. You cannot do it at the polling place. I can. It'll be a. Oh, now I lost my train of thought because I'm thinking about the 31st. Anyway, you can't do that at the. At the polling place, but you can come here. You can do your if you're not on the rolls and you're just or you're doing a different precinct, you can do those at your place. But anyway, you have to come see me. We will start at 8 o'clock. The people that are the poll workers will come and they'll have to do whatever their normal is to break down and finish whatever procedures they have at the 2 polling places. So I don't know that they will be here probably any sooner than possibly 9 o'clock. We will be open. The poll workers will have there's a whole routine for how they will bring in the ballots, how we will go about tallying them. It is a manual tally. We have 3 employees along with the consultant that's been helping me through the whole thing. That's very, very, very creditable. So we'll do it precinct by precinct, and as the results come up, we'll have someone on the computer and we'll just go ahead and put it onto the spreadsheet. And as soon as we update here per precinct, we'll immediately update it onto the web. And so we'll just continue doing that until the end of the night, which will probably be kind of late. But anyway, you're open to the public. Basically, though, you'll know that everybody has to be on their best behavior because we'll have people actually counting. So you're here to observe. And if you have questions, I get to be the one that gets to answer them because I'm not counting. So anyway, so otherwise, any other questions, come and see me. But that's what we're doing all day is ballots.
Also, if we can possibly televise it. We've done it before.
Okay,
We've done it before.
that's fine.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've done this.
Okay, that's fine.
For legal reasons, there's a certain number of days that you have to wait for absentee ballots to come in, and so the certification couldn't occur.
Right. No, we know that.
until
No,
the
yeah.
night.
Well, the second tally is the Wednesday a week from that Wednesday. So actually, we'll have the final tally again on the 8th. So I know that we're going to be putting a meeting together on the 9th. It's already set up through county as far as our fund account number. So we've done the necessary work. So that's all set up in case because we want to be ready to go when it passes. So if you have any questions, it's easier since this room right over here is off limits as far as I have to keep everything locked up. So if you need a question answered or you want to see me, if you could email me, it's going to be a faster response. Otherwise, you guys can come and ask anything you need, and we'll get you either signed up or a different way of voting.
Thank you very much for that very informative thing, and thank you particularly for the day of the vote information for registering. And I'm sure that when we're observing this, we're not going to have a bunch of chatter in the room. We'll have to send you off if that's the case, because they're going to need to be concentrating on what they're doing. With that, I'm looking for a motion.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for coming. Good night, everyone.
Oh, you brought me yours. Good job. Good job. Woohoo.
Give me this. Give me this brush.
Good job. Really good job. Good job.
Thank you. It's going to be fine. It's just